all of a sudden, Jane is getting calls. I'm like, okay, we need to know your security plan. We need to know this. I'm like, security plan?
Yeah.
I'm just going to cast the thing. They were like, sister. It's not what you think. This is big because at this time, Trump is still saying that he won the election. It was stolen. Yeah. We drive down. The next morning, security meets me at the hotel. And they
That's
literally,
insane,
yes,
dude.
very insane.
Whoa.
Jane and Peter are doing all my like PR stuff because at this point I have CNN calling me, all these different things like we want to do an interview with you as soon as you cast the electoral vote.
I watched that
interview.
interview.
They're like, we want to do this, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Then Jane's like, okay, we're doing this stuff outside. They make these posters, and I'm like, this is really serious.
Thank you for joining us today. We got a special guest today in the war room. We got Precious McKesson. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. So this is the first time that you've ever been on my show. And I've been wanting to have you on for a really long time. And just give a little introduction to yourself.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's say Precious McKesson. I'm the executive director of the Nebraska Democratic Party. I've been with the party since 2018, starting off as this constituency director and working my way up. I could say I was finance director as well as Black Caucus chair. That's pretty much me in a nutshell. I mean, I love politics. I mean, I've been following politics since the 90s when my first campaign I ever volunteered on was for Brenda Council when she ran for mayor in 1997. Mm-hmm. And
that was when she almost won, right?
That's when she almost won. She lost by 700 votes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a story I've heard.
Yeah.
A few times.
Still breaks my heart.
You were how old at that time?
I was 18. That was my first election I ever voted in. I was a senior in high school. Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, I'd always been interested after that because I just wanted to know, always wondered why people in North Omaha didn't vote because everybody went to church. I was like, well, everybody go to church. Why is nobody voting?
Yeah.
And so I was always interested in that. And then when I went to Alabama, to Birmingham, I saw like there was so many African-American people that were elected to office. And I was like, wait a minute. But then realizing that Birmingham is majority African-American city. Mm-hmm. And so I just always like wanted to follow like how do people do politics. So then when I came back here, I worked in the nonprofit space for a while, but still was active in the community and different things. And then got tapped for this job when I was working for Senator Wayne in the legislature.
So what interested you in politics? Like what gravitated you toward? Like what was the push for you to go and sign up and volunteer for Brenda Council?
Well, number one, we were voluntold because we were debutantes. And so we had to have some community service. And so there was like, oh, well, there's this campaign. And I was making calls to people, phone banking. And this is before her campaign office was on Cass Street. So this is before, right by down the street from Peony Park. That's when Peony Park was there. So I remember where her campaign office, it had this it was like a black house. And it had this wraparound porch and this huge tree. And I would never forget this house. And we would go in there and we would campaign and make calls and stuff and just being able to talk to people. But then also my parents, we went to a local church, Church of God, North 24th Street. And so, our family was always talking about politics. And my cousin is late Frank Brown on my grandmother's side. And so just, hearing about politics and talking about it, we were not a political family. Like I would say my immediate family was not political. But they would always talk about it. And I think one thing that really, really frustrated me was when my dad worked at Vickers, which was a plant on 72nd and Crown Point that's no longer there. It's now Target. And so he worked there for like many, many, many years since the early 80s. And my stepdad decided to build my mom a house in Northwest Omaha, which people thought we were rich because we now were coming west of 72nd. And the crazy thing is that I never understood why only the sheriff would come to our house. And then I realized because we weren't annexed into the city. So we couldn't vote for mayor. We couldn't do any of the city elections. And we had to pay for our garbage to get picked up. And I always asked these questions because we lived in North Omaha. And I was like, oh, well, this is what we do. And then all of a sudden we move out here. And here I am, the 7th, 8th grade, realizing that We pay for our garbage. Only the sheriff comes to our house, not the police department. And my parents can't vote for the mayor or for city council. What kind of crap is that? We're like, we can't vote for nobody? And so then my parents were starting to tell. That's when I started to learn about what annexation was and SIDs, sanitary improvement districts and stuff. And again, I'm only in high school learning these things. And so when I end up like years later as an adult, I went to work for the clerk of district court. And so I used to file the SIDs, the sanitary improvement district paperwork when they were building new developments. And then people would laugh because they were like, how do you know what that is? And I said, oh, well, because I lived in one. our neighborhood was annexed and I had to learn what a SID was. And that's when you're trying to basically put the different things in the new neighborhoods that you're developing. So, yeah.
So you're from North Omaha?
Well, I've been in North Omaha. I would say I'm not originally from Nebraska, but I've been here since I was 2. So, yes, I am. Yep. So when I first came, so I've lived here now 43 years.
Wow. Yeah, you're from here.
Yeah, I'm from here. This is home, you know. And
where were you originally born then?
Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Oh, Army brat.
Yes.
North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yep. My dad is former military. My grandfather also.
Is that the one that got renamed recently?
Fort Bragg? I don't think Fort Bragg has been renamed. I don't think they'll ever rename Fort Bragg. It's so much history because of the infantry unit.
I could have swore that was named after a Confederate general.
It might be. I don't know. I mean...
They're renaming them.
A lot of them are, yeah. A lot of them are because they were named after Confederate generals and everything, you know, which is
wild.
Very wild. Yes, very wild.
Yeah. A lot of friends who pass through Fort Bragg, they have one station unit training. You can go through basic and infantry training there. Yeah. I didn't know you were an Army brat.
Yes, my grandfather and my father. My father is still a civilian worker in Georgia.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And little known history fact, Precious did enlist in the Army, the United States Army.
Did you really?
I did. And then I had I had an honorable medical discharge due to a medical condition. But yes, I did enlist in the Army.
Yeah.
In September of 1997.
See, that's the thing. We don't know like a whole lot. We don't know a lot about you if that's by design or like, you know. Like,
it's something I don't talk about because, you know, some people say I should because they say, hey, you took that oath, you know, and you swore, even though you didn't get to complete it, you did something to say you wanted to go and honor your country. And so recently I've talked about it more, but that was something that I decided to do because I didn't think that, number one, I wanted to go to college, but I wasn't getting money to go to college. And my parents was like, look, we can't afford college. And so that figured that was the best way by getting the GI Bill, by going into the military. But I was not able to complete my service due to a medical condition.
Yeah, so I work in the VA, and it's actually, it's really important for people to not ascribe like purity tests when it comes to service and that sort of thing, because we run into veterans all the time who will not sign up for their compensation because they feel like they're frauds because they weren't Rambo or something like that. And, you know, we saw that during the presidential election. They were doing that too.
I've never done it either. I've never signed up for any of my benefits.
You can move it closer to your mouth.
Move it closer to my mouth. But you can't hear me?
I'm watching the wave pattern over there too.
Oh.
When I told you I'm a perfectionist, I'm like...
Yeah. So, yeah, during the presidential election, when people were trying to hit Tim Walz on his service, you know, saying stuff like, I've carried weapons of war. And they were like, oh, well, you were in the National Guard. And he's like, I deployed in support of the Iraq War, I think is what he said. And these people were trying to come out and say, oh, he was lying about his service. And it's like, he definitely wasn't. But also, like, when you do this, you make veterans think that they're not good enough.
Yeah.
Because they didn't, you know, they weren't fighting on the front lines or something. They did something of support. So it's like, it's really important to let people know that people are ashamed to the point where they won't sign up for their compensation benefits because they don't think they were like the greatest
and I tell
ever.
people, I was going in as a supply specialist.
Yeah.
So I knew what I was going to be doing. I was going to be making sure these soldiers had their supplies.
Yeah.
Okay? And somebody got to do something.
I got friends who, you know, they'll tell you, like, it's not all hero stuff. I stood out on a deck and told a plane to go that way.
Right. My brother-in-law, 20 years.
Yeah.
22 years, I should say, in the Air Force. And what was his job? Moving folks.
Yeah.
Making sure, doing strategy so that people can move to different different bases.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, every single job counts. Because,
every single job, because that's the way we move as a military.
Yeah. It's being a part of a bigger team. You're a part of a bigger mission.
Yeah, I was not playing with G.I. Joes when I was little, talking about I'm about to be out there Rambo-ing people. I was not trying to do that.
Yeah.
Still, it's a considerable thing to sign up no matter what happens. Like in World War II, you know, everybody was gung-ho about signing up. And unfortunately, like, people were medically discharged and said, you can't go fight, even though everybody was doing it. And we had people who were so ashamed that they committed suicide.
Yeah.
And in Canada, they would give you a special, like...
Wasn't that right after the Great Depression, too?
So
if I
much.
remember correctly, like, the country was like not in a state to like go to war, but like, you know, everybody was so like.
But people wanted to go.
People wanted to.
Well, it was a big. I mean, we got attacked by Pearl Harbor. It was a big
so that's
thing,
why.
Yeah, my grandfather, he fought in Vietnam. Like my grandfather, he's now retired, Chicago police detective. You know, like I mean, he did so much for our country. My uncle is former military. You know, so it's like he's a veteran.
Yeah.
So I was the only one out of all my dad's children.
Yeah. So like, just to finish the thought, like in Canada, they would give him like special little lapels to walk around knowing that to distinguish like this person tried signing up and they couldn't medically, just so they could just try to take away from the stigma of not being somebody who went over there. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, it's important like we don't ascribe these purity tests because it's really harmful to the veteran community. Yeah.
So you worked on a lot of campaigns following that, right? Or did you?
No.
Did you just step away from like?
I moved to Alabama.
You moved to Alabama.
Yeah, I did that one campaign, and then I graduated from high school. And then in '99, but I was still doing community things from '97, from the time I graduated from high school until I moved. Then I went to Alabama and basically worked and went to school, and then I came back here in 2003 to have my daughter with intentions of going back. But then I decided to raise my daughter here because even though it was 4 or 5 years down the line for her to go to school, the school districts where I was living in the city was not the best. And I was just like, there's no way. But then I knew at that early age, at 24, that if I wanted to give my daughter the proper education in the state of Alabama, I would have to move into one of the suburbs outside of Birmingham and put my daughter in private school. And I just being there and the job that I had good friends, and I saw how much they were spending. I was like, I'm never going to make that amount of money to be able to provide that for my daughter. And so the best thing was for me to stay in Nebraska because I knew that I could give her a good education and give her wouldn't have to struggle. And then I would have family for support. And so I ended up working in nonprofit with Girls Inc. And then my first, Taylor went to Head Start at the age of 3. And I never forget signing her up for Head Start. I ran into my 8th grade assistant principal, Elena Bass Harvey. And as soon as she saw me, she was like, oh my gosh. And this woman like meant a lot to me. I mean, she was like the best assistant principal. She would take me home after school. She would make sure I got after basketball practice. Like she was like my hero. Like I loved everything about her. And as soon as she saw me, she was like, I have a project for you. And I'm like, okay, my kid just started Head Start. She was the director of Head Start. And she's like, I'm gonna put you on the policy council. I was like, all right, whatever. And so I said, okay, cool. And so she's like, here's the meeting. I'm appointing you. And at that time, Senator Wayne, before he became Senator Wayne, he was on the learning community. And so because he was on the learning community, he had a role on the policy council for Head Start because those two entities work together. So me and Senator Wayne have been friends since middle school. So we ended up working together. I was a policy council president. He was on the learning community. And so we had to attend a lot of meetings together. Yeah. When we were talking about the different things, you know, with Head Start. And then I did that for 2 years because Taylor came out. She did 2 years of Head Start. Then she went to kindergarten. And then I still continued my community work. And then I got involved with North Omaha Neighborhood Alliance. So I'm still following politics. Yeah. I'm still posting about it. Like, why aren't people in North Omaha voting? Like, getting very frustrated. And then I used to always call people gatekeepers. And boy, when I would call the politician gatekeepers, they would be so pissed at me. And I'd be like, I don't care. And they was like, why is this girl like coming at us like this? But I was like, why don't nobody vote? And so then in just fast forward to 2017, I went to work for Senator Wayne. And while I was working for Senator Wayne, they had a consultant position that had Jane was looking for a constituency director. And this is right after the whole Hillary Trump in his term. And she wanted a constituency director because she wanted to rebuild the relationship and make sure and increase voter turnout in communities of color in North and South Omaha. And she said that she was like, well, it has to be somebody who's from North Omaha who's doing this position. And so at the time, there's all these campaign managers working for the state senators moonlighting as, still working as a staffer. So Senator Wayne didn't see an issue with it. I could still do it. And so I was like, yeah, I could be a consultant. And Senator Wayne, Willie Hamilton, and Preston Love was like, you should talk to Precious. I didn't know who Jane was. I'd never met her.
Oh.
And so I go in and
this was in like 2018?
2018, yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
In February, March of 2018. Cool. And so I met her at Do Space. She's like, hey, can we meet to talk? And I was like, okay, cool. And I meet her and Jason Valandra at Do Space. And instantly me and her started talking. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know this woman. I've seen this woman somewhere.
Yeah.
Didn't know who she was. And I mean, we instantly clicked. And she was like, I really want you to come work for the party and really do this work. And I told her, I said, Black people can no longer be the break in case of emergency for the Democratic Party. Okay. I said, you can't do that because that's the problem. Y'all come into the community, y'all zip out. You just can't do that. And so I remember her leaving out and she called me. She calls Justin and she tells Justin something. And he was like, I don't know what you said to her, but she was so damn impressed with you. I was like, oh, cool. And so then I come in, and from that day, she was like, I'm going to teach you the ropes and show you what the politics are. And from that day, I traveled with her to every DNC meeting. Like, she started to expose me to the national politics. And then I go home. So go backwards. I go home because I'm telling you, I'm like, I know this woman from somewhere. I've seen her somewhere.
Sure.
And sure enough, I'm at home. And I'm cleaning out my junk drawer again, as usual. And I have this Omaha magazine. And the crazy thing is, this magazine has never been opened. It's in a plastic. And it's a picture of Jane with a black cover with a snake going down her arm with blood. And it says excuse me, I don't remember the article, what the title was. May have been the most hated woman in Nebraska.
Was that after the pipeline?
Yes.
I think I saw that. I think I've seen that picture. Yeah.
You told me there was like a iconic photo of her like dripped in oil something like that.
That's the photo? Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I haven't been involved in the party until like probably only 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So feels like a lifetime.
Yeah.
But some people would always talk about 2016 and they would just talk about, it was a fight. Nobody really went into it.
But I remember during the Hillary campaign, the Hillary's office had an office on Ames, on 60th and Ames. And I'm trying to remember. I'm going to have to go back to my Facebook because I know I took a picture of this. Mm-hmm. The office had something, and they had like a Hillary cutout. And they were next to Mid-K, to a beauty supply house. Mm-hmm. And they had something, it was very negative. Like, I don't know what it was. Was it a handkerchief or gold chains? I'm going to look at my email. I'm going to look at my photos, because I remember taking a picture of it because I was on Facebook at the time. Mm-hmm. And I called the campaign and ripped them a new one. And again, I didn't know none of these people.
Hasselbrook?
No, the Hillary campaign.
Oh, the Hillary
in 16.
Campaign.
And then I heard about everything that happened when Jane ran as chair in Grand Island.
Yeah.
A Carney. Everybody talks about the Carney thing.
I never get. I never.
No,
get,
you're good.
Okay.
You're good.
Huh?
I never get like actual details.
I don't either. I think the number one, she was a Bernie supporter.
Yeah. And
so people thought, the Bernie people are about to come and take over. They had this whole thing. And if I'm not mistaken, was she going to run as vice chair first? Or she wouldn't run as vice chair? Mm-hmm. I think they wanted her to run as vice chair. And she was like, no, I'm running for chair. And they're like, who's this woman? And she came in and whooped their butt, took all them votes. And they were not happy.
I heard it was a real contentious thing, and she had a lot of charisma and command at the time.
She did. And the unions came in and
backed her up.
And she's done a hell of a job, she doesn't get a lot of credit for all the great things that she's done. Mm-hmm. I know that, sometimes there's a lot of tough decisions that she's had to make. But she always follows what the party wants. And it's a lot of hard decisions that she has to make, and And I give her a lot of credit. She has to stand. She has to be in the fire all the time. Like she has to be ready. And we're not perfect, you know.
Sure.
One thing that I've been very honored to work with her, you know, to be under her leadership, because she has given me full autonomy of my work. You know, she's taught me so much in politics. Where now, when I walk in the room in the DNC, people are like, "Hey, Precious, how are you doing?" And it's very rare when you have executive directors in the room because, you know, sometimes maybe they're scared. And Jane's like, no, she's doing the work. She's the first touch. Without her, I can't do this what I'm doing, and vice versa, you know. So she gives me that validation. Like, yeah, you're the executive director. Like, this is our team, and not only that, I mean, she does that with all of our staff. You know, we're a small but mighty team, and out of all the state parties, we have the longest running staff. Like, Ron's been there since 17.
Yeah, I would imagine it'd be a world of high turnover.
Yeah, what is the usual, like, what's the usual time frame for somebody to hold a position?
Executive directors?
Yeah.
1 to 2 years.
Seriously?
Yeah.
It's a battle.
Let me tell you something. I get so tired of getting on new sheets. Sometimes I don't be knowing who the executive director is. Because, I mean, we have like this, because I sit on the exec for ASDC, and that's Associated State Democratic Committees, so state parties. So that's all the chairs, vice chairs, and executive directors. So it's like a entity under the DNC, but our own, our own little part where we
state
can.
Parties.
Yeah. And so sometimes I'll be like, well, who's the executive director now? And they'll be like, oh, so-and-so's not there no more.
You mean?
Huh?
Of a new state.
Yeah. I'll be sitting there looking like, and then, you know, but we try to, you know, you got the old one, I call us the old heads, because now I'm a part of the old head crew. Everybody be like, well, go ask Precious, Jay, or Kevin.
No, you're not. I don't think
that's what, for some reason, I thought you were involved for so much longer than that.
No.
Well, I mean, when did you start paying attention? I only started paying attention in 2022, and it seems like
I started paying more attention in 2020, I feel like. And I remember seeing you for the first time. So the first time I met Precious was when the whole Elector stuff was going on. And
in the hallway. Yes.
And I stopped her and I was like, hey, like, I was nervous.
You stopped me. You did.
I was like, hey, like, you know, can I get a photo? And she was like, yeah, of course. She's like, are you the one with like that does like the lives and stuff? And I was like, how do you know that? Like, why do you know that?
Yeah, I did ask you that. I asked you that when I was walking into the room.
She was like, yeah, I watch it. I'm like, why?
Jazari, I tell you this, and when during the stuff that was going on in Lincoln, Jazari, there's 2 people I watched during the protest. Jazari and Peyton. Peyton was in Omaha. Jazari was here in Lincoln. And we were able to get a sense of what was going on.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize that y'all social medias were giving us the true light of what was going on rather than the media. The media was giving us this cookie cutter, but then I could go to Jazari's or I can go to Peyton's and I can see what was really going down.
Yeah.
Because uncut, unfiltered, you know? And so, so I did. I would watch it all the time. Like, I would always want to see them like, oh, what they got going on down in Lincoln? Let me see what's going on.
And I think what also kind of made that special is like, we talked to the people who were leading protests. So like people got to know like, hey, this is like, you know, a sophomore in high school. That's like, that just like threw all of this together because they felt like they needed to do something. So you really got to know the people instead of just like, oh, angry mob or XYZ, you know, like those clickbaity headlines. So it's like we really got to know the people who were like leading this type of stuff.
Not only did we get to know the people, we got to see people who would potentially run for office. Because I remember in Omaha, there was a young man who wanted to run for Congress. And they swore up and down that he was about to put the dumpster on fire because you could see him like pour the liquid and stumping.
Who was it?
I don't want to say who it was.
Oh, okay.
But you could see him, and I was like, oh, he wants to run for Congress. Like, bro, you was out here doing this. Yeah. But you also got to see where it was, especially I'll say in Omaha, where it was like, okay, you know what? Y'all led some people into the wrong path. Like, you know, you had some little hostile. But then you had the agitators who weren't even from Nebraska or from here who were basically, you know, doing extra things. And that really hurt.
Pouring fuel on the fire.
Yeah, because it kind of took away from what was going on. But it was overall, I mean, I think we would have never been able to get the attention that was needed by the governor. I remember sitting in the room with the governor Governor Ricketts at the time, when he said, where the hell were you people? And everybody swore up and down he didn't say that. I'm like, I was in the room. I can tell you exactly where I was at. A lot of people
a lot of people who were in the room I heard that from like several different people.
I mean, I literally rose up. I was like,
you people.
Did he just say that? Like, I mean, and that's the day I said, never will I ever give him respect. And I was so happy the day that I cast that electoral vote, when I intentionally walked in behind him.
How did that feel? Tell us about that moment. Like, what were you thinking? What was it like?
It's crazy because it was like literally 4 years ago this week, because Peg just did hers today. Number one, I did not know what the electoral vote was. I just want that to be clear. So I want to know how I got to be the elector. I wanted to go to national convention, and I knew we were going to Milwaukee. But I'm also a fair person. And I already knew that, okay, as executive director, I have all access. Plus, I'm the one with the I was a staffer at the time. But I was also on the team to help our executive director, Jim, plan everything. So I was kind of like as a constituency, I was on the ground with him. Like, I would travel to Milwaukee to look at the site. So I knew I would have all access to everything. Mm. So I said last minute, maybe a few days before state convention, that I was going to pull my name from being a delegate, because I felt that would be unfair to take up more space when I'm already going to be there. Mm. So I removed my name as a delegate, because I was already going to convention. It made no sense to me. So I removed my name, but when I was removing it, somebody said, oh, well, you know what? We have to choose the electors. And Jane has said, she's like, well, I think, there should be a diversified of electors, because, everybody talked about it was Kamala Harris as vice president, Joe Biden, blah, 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 blah.
Historic time.
Yeah. But what I didn't know is that Peg Lippard was running for elector. Mm-hmm. And she is a devout Catholic, very much so, like, true Joe Biden, like, been riding with Joe Biden since he was in the Senate. Like, she loves Joe Biden. And I was like, oh, man, I'm about to come in. And so I was like, I really want to do this. Didn't know how big it was, how big it was going to be. So I came in and I stole the thunder, and I ended up winning. I was like, oh,
well, that's for the caucus to decide.
Yes, it's for the caucus to decide.
Yeah.
And so I ended up asking for her to be the at large. So literally, because I was working on the campaign, we won the election. I went into instant quarantine because I was like, I don't want nobody cast that damn vote for me.
Oh, because
it was during COVID.
I think it's the electors who get to name the replacement.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken.
So I said I went in complete quarantine. I didn't leave my house.
Yeah.
From the day after, I literally, from that Saturday when they said that Joe Biden won, I knew right then and there. I was like, but I didn't know how big it was going to be. So I said, I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving my house.
Yeah.
So literally, all of a sudden, Jane is getting calls. I'm like, okay, we need to know your security plan. We need to know this. And I'm like, security plan?
Yeah.
I'm just going to cast the thing. They were like, sister. It's not what you think. Uh-huh. This is big, because at this time, Trump is still saying that he won the election.
Yeah.
It was stolen.
Yeah.
So then you have, remember they wanted to take the electors from Michigan, and then you had the want to replace electors in Georgia. Mm-hmm. Not knowing how serious it is until a few weeks later, when we got the January 6th stuff and we got this stuff going on now, I now realize how serious it was. So at that point, they said she's not to post on Facebook when she's leaving to go, and you must hire security for her. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't tell anybody I was leaving to come to Lincoln. So me and my mom and my daughter and my niece, we drive down. I think it was like maybe that Monday night, early Monday. Well, I think it may have been Monday. Yeah, because we did it on a Tuesday. So it was that Monday. Mm-hmm. We drive down. The next morning, security meets me at the hotel. And they
That's
literally,
insane,
yes,
dude.
very insane.
Whoa.
Jane and Peter are doing all my like PR stuff because at this point I have CNN calling me, all these different things like we want to do an interview with you as soon as you cast the electoral vote.
I watched that
Yeah,
interview.
they're like, we want to do this, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Then Jane's like, okay, we're doing this stuff outside. They make these posters, and I'm like, this is really serious. And so, if you look at any of the footage of when I was outside with Jane, you never see my family. And the reason why I kept my family inside because I was like, I didn't want my family to be put into that situation because I figured like somebody wants to be a martyr and they want to be like, show like their allegiance to this man, and that it would be easier for them to take out one elector than it is to take out more.
Yeah.
And since it had been so much publicity about it, so if you look at it,
oh my god,
yeah. So I mean, this is me in my head. If you look at any of the things when I was outside, yeah, it was cold, but if you look, my family's not outside with me when I'm talking to the media. Yeah. They're inside, and so that time they had invited us. They invite you to come to lunch before, and I was like, decline. Not going.
I'm not going to that.
With all you Republicans, I'm not doing it. And so then you just meet in the governor's press room. So when we come in, I walk in with security and they're looking at me and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so awkward. And so Wade Stevens is there and he's like, we're going to do this. You're good, Precious. I got you. I done checked everything. And I'm like, this is crazy. And so Senator Wayne's office was kind of like my hub also, kind of like my, where if I need to go somewhere, so I was going to go to his office. And so when we came down, I intentionally said, I'm going to walk behind Pete Ricketts. Now, mind you, I did not know how many people were going to be there, even though we had pumped it up.
So you didn't know, like, you were walking into this completely like...
Yeah, I didn't know how many people were going to come. I mean, I know we talked about it, but I mean, it was historic because number one, the last time we had cast it was in 2008 for Obama. So here we are now in 2020 for Biden after, like, dude, we're about to do this. And so when I'm walking in that hall, when you first saw me, I'm like not knowing, like, oh, I mean, there's people that couldn't even get in. They had to stand out in the hallway.
I remember you walking by and you had this look on your face like...
Yeah, I was very confused. I was like, oh my gosh. I knew my family was in the room. I knew my friends were in the room. And when we walked in the room, like, because we're walking in line, because we're walking with the governor, and we walk in and everybody starts to boo as soon as they see the governor. But then they see me and they start cheering.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was the best freaking feeling ever. And then here we are, with Secretary Evans having to cast it. And he intentionally, like, I love how he took such care. He let me have that moment. I don't think people understand. If they look at when he came, because he does a thing where he gives you the rule, tells everybody how it's about to take, and he comes to you and you cast your vote. And he gave me that moment that I'll never forget, because when I cast my vote, he said, and he stops and he goes, Precious McKesson casts her vote for Joe Biden. And then everybody's able to cheer. He didn't rush it. And then he looks at me. And then when he comes back and I do it for Kamala Harris, he gives me that moment again. And that's when I literally start crying. And there's a picture of me with my head down, like with my hands praying, because that was when I knew, like, I just cast the vote for the first African-American woman to be vice president of the United States.
First woman, too.
I remember.
Yeah, first woman.
Yeah, I remember feeling like the energy. Like, that was such a big moment.
It was. And then and then also Senator Chambers, I look up and Senator Chambers is in the back, right in the middle. Senator Chambers never goes into hearing rooms unless he's actually testifying.
Yeah.
Senator Chambers is always at the Capitol, and he was in the back of the room and he had his arms crossed and he was standing and he did a nod, I kind of nodded, and that like really made me feel really good, like that moment. Because I remember when I left the legislature, before I left, when I resigned to go work full time for the party, I remember going to see Senator Chambers before I left, and he, just letting him know I was leaving, because he was somebody that I really looked up to.
Yeah.
I would like leave my office and Senator Wayne would be like, they'd be like, where's Precious? I'd be like, well, if Senator Chambers is about to speak, she is literally on the floor on the other side, like a sponge. Like, you couldn't tell. I don't want to watch him on TV. I have the honor now of being in the same room as him. And so I would go up there and I would just be like in awe, because he was just such an amazing person. So just seeing him in the room, that was something that was historic. And then I ended up leaving that day from the thing. I was like, okay, CNN was like, oh, we're not going to be able to do the hit. I'm like, okay, cool, y'all, let's go. And so my daughter had took the Ring camera and everything. And so we're getting in the car with the security. And as I'm getting in the car, they call back and they say, no, we want to do the hit 5 minutes. So I literally have to run from the car back to Senator Wayne's office, set everything up, and that's when I do the hit with Dana Bash and
Abby Phillips. Abby Phillips
yep.
was the one who interviewed you, and I remember watching that because I was at home. I went home, and I pulled it up on my phone because I would always watch it on my phone, and it was like, oh, and they started talking about Nebraska, and I was like, oh, they're talking about Nebraska, and they're like, oh, and then Precious McKesson. I was like, Precious McKesson, and they're like, oh, she joins us now. I was like, she joins you now, and like watching that and seeing you.
And I still have it on my TV. Like literally, I have that saved on my TV, like on my DVR. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
No one touches. Do not delete anything that says election 2020.
That's why
I go back and watch it every now and then I go back and I'll watch the night when Amy Klobuchar, Senator Klobuchar, announced the electoral vote on January 6th. I go back. Well, actually, it was January 7th because January 6th.
Everything that
went into went to after hours, and I always watch that when she announced Nebraska's vote.
That's what I did not know. You did not know how big the whole Elector thing was going to be. Because that was we talked about it like that was a huge thing.
I didn't know, and that's why I was intentional of making sure that I nominated Peg Lippard. This year because number one, because when we thought she was going to be casting it for, we thought Joe Biden was going to be the person running, and so I wanted to make sure that she had that honor of doing that this election cycle, and but today she was able to do it for Kamala Harris. So
when I was on the way over here, Nebraska Public Media took a clip from what she was saying, and they took a clip from the CD2 elector as well. But I think she said something about how like it's very important. This vote is like to support continuation of democracy.
She did. That's what she said. Yeah, and I was telling something. I was telling you, well, just we didn't know she was going to say that. She had literally said that she wanted to do. She had called me and she's like, "Precious, I need to know these numbers." And I said, "Peg, I'm not giving them our finance numbers, how much money we raised." I said, "You just tell them how many employees we had, and how many offices we had." And she said, "Okay, Precious." And she said, "Well, if I get a chance to talk to that governor, I'm going to tell him about what he's doing, da 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 da." So I thought when she went, she said she went to the lunch. I'm going to that lunch. I said, "Go ahead and go, girl." Yeah. She's like, "Precious, you go?" I said, "No." And so she went, and she said, this is something funny she told me they did. She said that they wanted to take an all Republican picture, and she told them, they wanted to take an all Republican picture, and she told them no. Because this is democracy. Yeah. So they wanted to take so at the luncheon they wanted to take, and she would not let them take that all Republican picture. They didn't get to take it until they came over to the Capitol. Yeah. So when they got to that part, and they said, "Is there anything for public comment?" And so everybody's sitting there, and she goes, "Yeah, I have something to say." And she whips out that paper, and baby, she lays into him with all the media right there, and it shocked all of us because all of a sudden Chair Klebb is like grabbing my leg and we're all looking like everybody's in shock. Then I look to my right and Gina's just smiling from ear to ear recording the whole thing. And I'm like, oh man. And I said, you know what? Who's going to check this 90-year-old woman?
At that point, like true? I feel like once you're at that age, you're just like,
who going to check? Look, who going to check me, boo?
Right.
Because that's how I felt at that moment. I was like,
yeah, and the governor was speechless.
He was speechless. He couldn't say anything. He looked like a deer in headlights.
Yeah,
because he was looking like somebody saving him. Can't nobody save you now, bruh. In this room.
Yeah, that happens often. I've friends who have interacted with him a lot in advocacy community, and they say that if he's not prepared to say something,
it throws him off.
Yeah, it throws him off, and then also he has some like handlers to make sure he doesn't say anything.
And he couldn't. And those handlers were all in the back of the room. He was there by himself. Only person that had said something was the lady from District 3. Yeah. She made this whole thing about, I'm from District 3 and we're from a conservative state and we're a red state with our red dot. No disrespect to the blue, to Omaha, but we're going to work to keep a red state and can be conservative. And I literally said, you just proved what Peg just said because of the democracy. And so, I'm really proud of Peg. She,
We're a weird red state, conservative state or whatever. It's like we passed Medicaid expansion. We did paid sick leave. Yeah. I mean,
they overturned the school voucher.
Overturned it. We got the marijuana.
We're such a.
And he had to sign that.
Minimum wage.
Mm-hmm. And they were like urging him not to sign it because I was talking to Senator Dungan about that. And my friend Zach, who's a reporter for the Examiner, that has just been like a battle.
It is. It's like, dude, just let it be.
They urged him not to sign. They urged him not to sign medical marijuana.
Yeah, they weren't gonna sign it.
Like he can't. He can't.
Yeah, he had to sign it. He had to sign it in. But now they're still gonna push legal things. But he had to sign the proclamation. He had to sign it in.
Yeah, because he would be violating the Constitution. Yeah.
So I have a question about the whole switch when it happened from Biden to Harris. Like, what was kind of just like the contingency? Was there a contingency plan of that? Like, did you guys?
We didn't know. I was a senior advisor on the campaign. We did not know. Let me tell you when I found out. When America found out.
Yeah.
That Sunday while I was walking into UNO for that tax hearing.
Yeah.
And my phone is blowing up. And just imagine walking in.
Yeah.
Seeing that. And then the media seeing you in the front row.
They're like, oh, perfect
Obviously,
opportunity.
you know the whole plan.
Yeah.
Perfect opportunity. They're looking at me. I'm looking at them. I'm like, oh, I got a break.
Mm-hmm.
Then Senator Reapy announces it on the floor because everybody's in this meeting, so people may not be looking at their phones. So Senator Reapy announces why all the senators up there talking about this tax thing for the governor. Oh, and by the way, President Biden just dropped out, and so literally I'm looking around. I was like, break. And before I look at my phone and KTV's like, hey, Precious, you want to make a comment? And I'm like, oh. And, so, I mean, I did my thing. But no, we didn't know.
Well, I mean, like, so after that, like, what was, like, it after the fact? Like, was, like, okay, like, how do we... Because you guys were already gearing up to help, like, the Biden-Harris campaign. Now it's, like, the Harris and who else campaign. So it's just, like, how did that, like, shift happen?
Well, number one, it was easy for us because of with me being on the campaign and with the party. It was easy, but it was hard for us but we just knew instantly, like we went to an instant meeting, like, okay, this is what's going to change. This is what the logo's going to be. So, I mean, they already knew what they were going to do, but we didn't know. Like, they knew it was coming, so they were already preparing it. Yeah. So we instantly had the logo change. I mean, we had to change our joint fundraising agreement, so contracts had to change. I think it was more on them of what they had to do rather than us, because we hadn't been we hadn't started. I would say the only problem I have with it is that I had just ordered all these damn shirts. So I had students for Biden Harris, Latinos for Biden Harris, blacks for Biden Harris. I had all these damn shirts.
Good day for the t-shirt industry.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I gotta go pick up my students for Biden for Harris. Somebody gonna want them shirts to run in. Somebody, I was thinking, do I send them somewhere? I don't know where to do. So yeah. So we didn't. So that was kind of hard for us. Yeah. I mean, that part, and then having to get into the stop is not saying Biden Harris, whoever. But then we also knew that how is that going to happen with state convention because the delegates. So all that internal process was the one we had to get on because we knew we had state convention coming. So I feel bad for the people who had already the branding and all that stuff because they had to flip that. And so we just made it work. It was sad, and that's why I went to well, he did it. It was before he did it. After the debate, I went to the DC for the 4th of July. I've been invited to the White House, and so at first I wasn't gonna go, but it was right after the debate, and I was like, man, I gotta go see Joe. I gotta go see for myself. He could feel the love from us. He could feel it. He was on the balcony, and you could tell and then for that change to come, and Kamala Harris had a lot to do real quick.
Yeah, it was reported that she knew only minutes before everyone else did.
Yeah.
Like she was called into a Zoom, they told her, and then the release went out just minutes later.
Yeah, because technically, we didn't have a logo.
Yeah.
Until that evening. But the thing is that really frustrated me about it was that so mmany people who felt that we should have had an open primary. That was like a slap in the face.
They were crazy.
And I tried my best not to say, because I mean, I love Nancy Pelosi. Everybody, I love Nancy.
She wanted Gavin.
Yeah. Me and
she
her
wanted Gavin, or did she want Whitmer?
She wanted Gavin.
I don't know who she wanted, but I know that me and her grandson worked together in the Department of Education, and then me and her daughter are colleagues. I love Christine, and I was just like, "Really, Nancy?
Yeah.
You want to do this?"
I don't even know what a primary would have changed.
It wouldn't change anything. It would just been a whole complete crap show.
Contested convention.
Yeah.
And then we would have lost 30 days. And we only had 100.
You only had 100. And so what Vice President Harris did in the short amount of time that she did was historical.
Mm-hmm.
And just imagine if she would have had longer, if she would have had at least a year and a half to do what she did.
I mean, raising $1 billion in 90 days.
Yeah.
Over $1 billion, actually. So, like, that was insane. And she was, like, erasing, like, Trump's lead in, like, all the swing states and everything like that. There was so much traction. People were so fired up about her.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm still confused by what happened. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Well,
what did I see on social media? Somebody was like, "Nah, I know the work of B613 when I see it." Have you
B613?
Have you seen Scandal?
I love Scandal. Yeah. That's what they call me. Some people call me the Olivia Pope of Omaha.
Yeah,
little Olivia.
she was dealt a very difficult task.
Yeah,
and it makes me angry that she had to inherit all of Biden's people. She did not have a team that was her team, and right after the election, that's when everybody goes with all the gossip and stuff. Yeah. And then journalists started saying, oh, yeah, her chair, Biden's campaign chair, Jan O'Malley Dillon, a year before, she was trying to convince the Biden world that Harris needed to be dropped from the ticket. And then it's like,
was that for real or was that a rumor?
That's what was reported in Time magazine, I believe it was. And apparently she was just going all around, and she was also leaking to the press that Harris does not need to be on the ticket. And then a year later, that's her campaign chair. And there was all kinds of infighting on trying to, like, control what the messaging would be and stuff like that. But it's just like, if she had longer and she had her team, you know, what could happen?
So she did inherit a team. She did inherit the Biden team. Nothing changed with us, like, on the battleground. It was all, like, in headquarters wise, like, on the top of the the food chain.
Sure.
On the top of the food chain. That's where it changed at, like, with, campaign managers. We kept everything going the same.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But I hear so many different things. Do I feel that, me personally, that the messaging was off and we missed an opportunity? We did. We missed in certain areas. I mean, look at Trump. He was going on all these stupid shows. I mean, but those stupid shows helped him.
The podcast bros, as they say.
Yeah. And I think, just looking at, like, what could we have done more? Because we had so many. I mean, you look at all the arenas that was filled up with people. I mean,
sure.
Yeah, you have the women win with black women. I mean, literally 44,000 of us on a Zoom call on one day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot. And so, yeah, I mean, I think there's so much that could have been done different.
We think a lot of it's like the youth turnout vote.
Yeah.
And
I could go about
problem, a huge thing that put a damper on the youth turnout vote, they said, was what's going on in Gaza.
Yeah.
I will agree.
But another thing we also talked about was, like, we live in a two-party system, and you got to figure out how to operate within that.
Yeah.
So are you going to tank everything for this issue, which is a huge issue? I understand, like, where you guys are coming from. But is that worth, like,
Well, I want to back up for a second. Like, I know we're all focusing on the loss, but right after the election, according to the Pod Save America guys, some old internals leaked that showed Trump was going to win 400 electoral votes. And if that would have happened, you're talking about states like Illinois, New Jersey, New Mexico going red. And then what does that do to, like, down ballot? Down
ballot races.
Yeah, but
I mean, I honestly think that she saved us from a crazy wipeout.
Yeah,
I really do.
I can see that.
There's also analysis that showed that she boosted the pro-choice initiatives across the state. I mean, the reason why I think we lost here was just because that last 2 weeks was just filled with misinformation, disinformation. Yeah. It was crazy. I didn't see any ads that was saying, no, this is the one. Yeah. That is the bad one.
It's the language. I think it was the language thing. Like, I mean, it was truly misinformation.
Yeah. So just to finish the thought, like, she saved us.
Yeah.
Like, people don't focus on that. They just focus on how she lost. It's like, you don't understand. We could have been down to 40 seats in the Senate.
Yeah, North Carolina could have had that old crazy governor.
And then she clearly helped down ballot candidates.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, look at North Carolina. Everybody won down ballot.
Yeah.
In major states, all the states.
senators. Yeah.
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 So there was takeaways for like there were wins there. But
I mean, I just want to see what she does. You know, I think I do say sometimes where the whole Gaza thing really frustrated me because we didn't get right direction. I felt we should have talked about. I felt like people were trying to save the relationship with Israel. You know, and I'm not saying, like I tell people, I'm a very much so person. Right is right and wrong is wrong, regardless of what they were doing, what was going on, and the fact that children were being slaughtered.
Yeah.
It was horrific, and I feel that because of the president, I feel like Vice President Harris held her respect for the president because he is the leader of the country.
Yeah.
Because when she became the nominee, she was able to then speak freely about it, but I think it was too late. Because people had already attached her to the fact that they didn't say anything within the administration. So now it's looking as if, oh, you're only saying it because you're running for office, which I know that wasn't the case for her. I felt like she just, as a respectful to the president of the United States, she followed suit with our leader, I think, and so we would ask all the time. I mean, the parties would be like, "Where's our guidance? Like, why isn't no one saying anything?" Like, we would send letters to the DNC. I mean, we would ask, like, what's going on? And we just was like, I mean, I don't know what it was, and
yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't know that, like, because there's a lot of protest here in Nebraska about all of that too. People we know, like, mutually online, that were very vocal about everything that was going on. And yeah, I think that it's also the other thing that was kind of hard for her too, in my opinion. And I've never met the woman. I've never seen these people in real life, but like it was everybody held everything against her, even though she was the vice president.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you do this when you had 4 years in office? The vice president doesn't have legislative power like that.
And I don't think people understood either that we only saw so much of her because she was a black woman. Everybody was able to critique her. We didn't see people critiquing Al Gore, Dick Cheney.
Biden when he was vice president.
No, Biden. Literally, I should always say this. Biden would say the things that the black man couldn't say. He got a pass.
Yeah.
Because he would, but we did. I mean, honestly, when I think about it now, did I ever go see what Biden was doing as vice president? No.
What was Mike Pence doing when he was president?
We didn't see them.
Oh man. One of my favorite quotes is Trump's like, "That's why I like Mike, because he says a lot of words and he doesn't say anything."
Yeah.
Anytime he was on camera. Yeah, anytime he was on camera, Mike Pence would just say nothing.
Yeah. Mike Pence was just stand there.
He would spend minutes saying nothing, just giving you that political talk that doesn't, where's the thesis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and I agree. I think the reason why, it's like anytime you're the first, especially if you're the first black or person of color, like you're under a microscope with everything that you do. And so, and it just shows like, do people really not know what the vice president does, or are they really doing this just because, trying to like, muddy the water? I think it's because she's a black woman.
I think it's a black woman because I promise you, when JD Vance, nobody gonna be checking for him.
Yeah, he's gone. Where did he go?
Ain't nobody
heard anything about JD Vance?
No, you ain't seen JD Vance. I mean, the first time I saw JD Vance literally was at the Navy Army game on TV.
that's the first time I saw him.
It's been him and Elon Musk. Like, he didn't even bring JD Vance to the reopening of the Notre Dame. He brought Elon.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
On what? Elon?
It's incredible.
He's the president.
It's incredible that somebody can spend $377 million like it's nothing.
Yeah. I'll be, at the end of the day, I will say this. When was it Mondale was the last person who was the last person who ran and didn't get a battleground state? Oh my gosh. I was just looking.
It's probably Mondale versus Reagan, because the Mondale only won Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, one day it will come out. Like I say, B613.
Well, okay, so can someone explain? I don't know what B613 is.
It's a term on Scandal.
All right,
It's the underground.
Okay, yeah, it's the
It's a
underground,
TV
like
show.
The underground people.
Yeah, the underground people who really pull the strings. And
Yeah.
they're like,
Hey, I
I
don't
see what
care. I don't know.
and they're like, well, who funds B613? They're like, well, when you start trickling pieces in, like, you know, a few thousand here, a few thousand there from these huge budgets,
Okay.
it all funnels through there.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I mean, Miriam Adelson gave him $100 million. Elon Musk $377 million that we know of.
What is your okay? So you have
Well,
seen a
yeah,
lot
man.
of like people try to run grassroots campaign,
Mhm.
right? Like, it is hard to get your foot in the door
Oh my gosh.
and do anything. So it's just like, how do people stay motivated, or how do people feel like, let me even try this, or is it even worth me putting in my time because I'm just going to get blown out of the water?
it is definitely worth your time. And I say this because it's about the people. You know, my thing is, do you need money to run an election? Yes. Do you need all the money to run an election? No. I'll give an example of Ashley Spivey. I'm going to give this example because she is your prime example of what happens in the primary. So everybody, now that she's Senator-elect Ashley Spivey, people blamed us saying that the party got her into the election, and that is not the case. Me and Ashley are very good, great friends. That's one of my best friends. I call her my sister.
Mhm.
You know, she called. Let me go this back. A few years ago, before Ashley had her youngest son, when we knew that Senator Wayne was terming out, we asked Ashley to run for office. This is before anybody else. This is when I was considering getting in, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
And Ashley said no. Ashley was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Plus, I think she was pregnant at the time. And she was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. You know, like, no.
Just
no.
too much going on.
Yeah, like too much going on. We asked a few other people. A few other people felt like it was below. They had ran for another office. They didn't want to run. They said no. Then I said, okay, I considered running. Now, I had a talk with Tracy Hightower. And me and her had met at a coffee shop at Zen Coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you exactly off of Harney Street, because I remember exactly where we were at. It was cold on this day. And we had a talk, and she had asked me about, was I going to run? I've been a lifelong resident of LD13. So I was like, you know what, Senator Wayne, I worked at the party. I'm gonna take this thing. Only thing, the problem I had was that you only make $12,000 a year. And I was like, how do I take care of my family? But I'm like, but I can do this. I can get a job. You know, I'm about to cuss. Everybody else in nonprofit, and the senators was getting jobs at nonprofits and being able to work and still do the work.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be able to get a job, because once you announce with the party, the chair, the vice chair, and states and staff, you cannot run for office and be a staffer.
Yeah.
So you would instantly have to resign. And so I talked to Tracy, and she was like, Precious, I would never run against you. Da 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 da. I understand you want to run for the seat. I know you've always talked about it. Now, mind you, let me go back to 21. I remember when she had called me when we thought that Senator Wayne possibly, I'll do the air quotes, would get a appointment as a judge. This had been talk, and she wanted to know, would I support her if that was to happen, because at that point the governor would then elect somebody to appoint somebody to that seat, and then she would then turn around and run. Now, at this time, I was going to the Department of Education. So at this point, I'm like, oh, my career changed. My career has changed. I'm going to go to DC. So I was like, yeah, I'll definitely support you. I told her how to get involved and be the delegate for LD13. Tracy, and I say this, like, not saying that she gave this to me as a, parting gift, but Tracy, I'm not taking nothing from her. Tracy, when I moved to DC, Tracy gifted me with 80,000 Sky Miles to be able to fly back and forth to see my daughter, because I was coming home every 2 to 3 weeks. So I always want that to be very much so out there. Like, I'm never going to take that from her. She was a very, very, she's not a bad person.
Yeah.
Very, that was a very special gift to me because that's the only way I was able to come home as much. And she would book my flight for me. I would call her and say, hey, I'm coming home this day. And she would use the Sky Miles to book my flight. So very, very, always be very appreciative and very grateful for that she did that. And so when I decided to come back home, I wasn't thinking about running for office, y'all. I was not. And I came back home in 22. And then knowing that Senator Wayne was going to term out, it's just, I started to think about it more. I always said I didn't want to run for office. I'd already would say, no, I don't want to run, because I said, I don't want to answer to the people who don't want me there, because I feel like then those people are now my constituents. So now I got to listen to them. And I don't want to listen to people who don't like me. So no, I don't want to do it. And so I went back and forth. And so then finally when I made the decision to run, my main decision of running was because I got so tired of wanting to run. My intentions was I got so tired of hearing people get on the floor and talk about issues that impacted Black people and people of color. And then they would be able to leave and they didn't live with that. Like, I wanted to be able to talk to people and say, when I leave there, that lived experience lives with me. And I don't just say, oh, well, I introduced the bill for Black people today. Now I get to go home to my little cookie cutter house and do it. So that's why I wanted to run, because I need people with lived experience, people who actually live these experiences, and these experiences, this shit eats you up at night. It keeps you up. Like, how can I make change, especially with the type of governors that we have, And when we couldn't get a damn hair bill passed because of a grievance that the governor had with another senator, and it took a Black man to come in the next year to get it passed, I have a problem with that, So I'm like, how do you leverage who you are to do these things? And so that was the main reason why I wanted to run. I was like, I need bills that are passed that are going to impact, that's really going to be impactful. And people live with this. It's not just a bill. This is something you feel passionate about. Yeah. And so I told Tracy that. And so Tracy's like, I would never run against you, da-da-da-da. Cool. So that day I left that meeting from that coffee shop with her, and I made 2 phone calls to 2 people. I said, I'm in. Me and Tracy spoke, I'm in. Now the next step was for me to find a job. Because now at this point, I'm gonna quit.
So you left the job in DC to come back and do that? Or?
No, I came back as the executive director. But in the middle of that,
gotcha.
This is 22. I knew that 24 was coming up. I decided, this is 20. I'm like, this is the same year. I'm like, dang, I'm gonna run, because it's coming to me. Senator Wayne's about to term out. So I made that call, and I'm driving home, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm feeling good. I started to contact the people to start designing my logo. And so I'm in the process of doing a logo. I'm making a decision when I'm going to announce, because at this point it's like a year before. So this is 22 going into 23. So I'm like, okay, well, I got a little time. I won't most likely announce until the summer of 23 or the fall, because it really, truly, I'm just thinking I don't need a year. And so I'm already planning with, telling Jane that this is when I'm going to quit, da-da-da-da. All of a sudden, I get a text message from Tracy and was like, oh, I'm sorry. It was the same as like, you know what? After heavy consideration and talking to people, I'm going to go and decide to run. Da-da-da-da. I was like, wow. So I instantly blocked her. I blocked her that day. And so I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And so she did her campaign. She did her announcements. And something happened. I'm trying to think what happened in 23. People kept coming to me and was like, Tracy thinks you're still going to run. I never said I wasn't going to run. So this whole time she's like, thinking I'm going to run. I'm not telling nobody I'm not going to run.
You were just waiting.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm just going to let you sit here. I'm going to let you, since you did this to me, I'm going to let you sit. I'm going to let you really sit here and think. So now at this point, there's people who are telling her I'm not endorsing you because I don't know if Precious is going to get in. So now she's like, oh, but then you have the white elite of Omaha who are now like basically trashing my name, saying these different things about me or whatever. And so I just woke up one day and I was like, I'm not going to run. I was like, I'm not going to run. Yeah, because at this point, I'm like, I just don't feel like doing this. I really love what I do as executive director. I don't want my family to go through this. So I called her and I said, hey, can we talk? And so we met at Scooters on Mormon Bridge Road. Look, tell people I know where I meet people at. Look.
She knows where it went down.
We had a
daytime weather and everything.
Yeah, we had a very emotional meeting. I mean, it was tears.
Seriously?
It was tears. Yes, it was tears because I felt that passionate about LD13. And one of my biggest things that I told her was, because at that time we had exhausted, no one else was going to run, So I was like, I got to talk to her. And I said, I told her, I said, you have to promise me that if I don't run for this seat, you got to promise me that you will always have a kitchen table and you will always make sure that communities of color are at the table before you make any decision, and that you will talk to us and make sure that the bills represent, because this district means a lot to me. If people don't understand, LD 13 encompasses every single economic class you have shelters, you have prisons, you have millionaires, you have low income, middle income, you have every class in this district. It's one of the most diverse districts. And so I was like, you have to promise me that. And then also, I wanted her to promise me that she would, like getting emotional thinking about it. I wanted her to do a bill for Alicia Shelton, because Alicia had went through so much with in vitro and IVF. And I promised Alicia, if I ever got elected to office, I would do a bill called Amelia's Bill. And that would be to help mothers of IVF.
Wow.
Of surrogacy. That's what I wanted to do, So I told her, I said, you have to promise me that you will, always let us be at the table.
Champion that.
Yeah. And so she said yes. And I said, okay, I'm going to call Senator Wayne and Senator McKinney and let them know. Because those are two that was holding out. Like, nope, we're not doing nothing. So I called them and they ended up meeting with her. I don't think Senator Wayne met with her yet, because Senator Wayne was still in his process. And so fast forward to this year. I went to Tracy. I did go to Tracy's kickoff. We had a thing 13 strong. I was really, supportive of her campaign. Mm-hmm. Well, 2 days or so before the deadline, Ashley Spivey, which is my best friend, calls and says, Precious, do you think I could win this race? I want to run for LD 13. Like, girl. What the? So she says, what do you think? She asked me an honest opinion. I said, girl, that is going to be an uphill battle. I'm like, oh, shit. Literally, I'm like, the filing date literally was March 1. I'm like, oh, hell, Ashley. So at this point, I'm like, what? I mean, I think it was like maybe, it was like, and so I'm thinking she's not going to do it. This is what I'm thinking. Like, after I said this to her, but I'm like,
there's no way.
Yeah, right? So I go about my business. I'm like, girl, Tracy been campaigning over a year. Like, girl, okay. So I kind of go about my business.
Yeah.
I tell Jane the next day, and then Ashley calls me and says, oh, I just want to let you know, I just went down and I just filed to run for LD 13.
This was 2 days before the
deadline.
She called you 2 days before the deadline was like, do you think I could pull this out?
Yeah. This is amazing.
So I was like, sis. So at that point, and she'll tell the story too, at that point, I'm like, oh, shit. These motherfuckers about to hate me. Because they're going to think that we recruited her because she's that close to me.
Yeah.
I did not recruit her.
Yeah.
So I literally was like, oh my God. So I mean, it was that bad. I didn't know what to do. I don't know if I text Tracy. I don't know. Like, I think she blocked me. I don't know what happened after that. So no, she didn't. I don't think she did.
Yeah.
I don't think she blocked me at that point. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So at that point, I was like, well, Ashley, I have to remain neutral because it's a dim on dim race. And so I remained neutral. And Ashley did her campaign.
Yeah.
And it was and a lot of people were like, oh my gosh. And when she came through on that primary, I was like, whoa. So I give this example to say, because she did not have a year and a half. Tracy had a year or more of campaigning.
And a lot of money.
And a lot of money of her own money. And Ashley literally won that campaign with less than $30,000.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. The primary, I think it was.
I remember correctly, Tracy spent $100,000.
More than $100,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
and
kidding.
It's like, Okay, so I had actually heard rumors, nothing that you had considered running,
I did.
and then you decided not to. So now I finally know that was true.
Yeah.
And I was pretty disappointed.
I know.
Right? No. I was just disappointed because, I just thought that, objectively speaking, fact, on paper, black women are the best demographic for Democrats for a long, long time.
And we talked about that a lot.
And I was just like, I'm not even trying to blow smoke, but it was like, if they have our back all the time at like 90%, why didn't we convince Precious to run? And this is all my speculation.
Well, let me tell you. So the main thing, Tommy, is that I don't think a lot of people know. I take care of my brother who's a quadriplegic also.
Yeah.
He lives in a home with me. And the thing is that my daughter's at Creighton. Now, she has a full ride scholarship. So academically, I don't have to pay anything for her education.
Yeah.
Financially, but her books and her parking pass. But I was like $1,000 a month. But then, I say this to say there's so many people who work who are legislators, who work in the legislature that have these cushy nonprofit jobs, but no one was looking at saying, you know what, Precious, we're going to make sure that you have a job in the nonprofit sector so that you can run for office. No one was throwing that out there. And I was just like, well, what the you want me to put my name out there and then y'all ain't gonna give me no damn job?
No, I understand.
The hell with you. And so that was a part of it. Was like, I'm like,
the support wasn't there.
The support, like finance, but then also, let me take that back. It did come. It did come.
Yeah.
Jane had even said, I would hire you at Bold.
Ah.
She did.
Yeah.
We were, but at that point, I'm like, do I want to do this? So I think it was more of when Tracy did that to me.
Yeah.
It made me so mad because at that point I'm thinking, now I have the white Democrat elites against me. And now these are the same people, these same people secretly will smile in your face, but really truly don't like you, especially when the whole James Scurlock thing and then the whole Don Klein thing and the fact that I read a resolution. I didn't write the resolution. I read the resolution that passed. And then he turned to be he changed his party affiliation to a Republican. These are the same people that were calling Biden, telling Biden and Harris to fire me from the campaign in 2020.
Yeah.
Like they had like this whole smear campaign. And so then the day that he switched his party, I called all they asses on the phone. Oh, remember when you told me this? Well, look, he switched his party and now he's a Republican because guess what? He said he believes in Donald Trump. He voted for Donald Trump. And the reason why he voted for Donald Trump because he believes in law and order, and so does he. What happened to the whole thing? Don Klein believes in this. Could no one say anything? No one's ever apologized for that.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing, and I did get a lot of people saying, "Man, like you should have just did it."
Yeah.
You should have just did it. But I think there's always a plan, and I'm a planner, and I always think that God has something bigger for me in store for me, and He's always gonna guide me. And I have no regrets. I am so proud of Ashley. I am so freaking proud of her. Like she really pounded the pavement. Right. And if you don't, yes.
So this is where I come back in. Yeah, I was disappointed that you weren't running, and of course I didn't know any of the particulars, right? I didn't know why you chose not to. I didn't know if anybody tried to give you support. So I was just really bummed that it was only Nick.
We're on the outside. We only see like
it's only Nick and Tracy that were running at this point, right? So I was just like super bummed, thinking like, that was an opportunity for us to like, they've had our backs. Yeah. Why don't we get them back, right? And then Ashley jumps in, and I'm like, yes, I'm her biggest fan. She doesn't even know who I am. I'm telling all my friends and stuff like that, like, watch this race. I think she's going to be able to do it, even though Tracy had so much money. And, it happened. She got in. She got a few hundred more votes than Tracy to get.
Was it like?
It was close.
It was like 113 votes. It was close. That first race was close.
Yeah. And so,
or was it 41 votes?
It was
41. It was
41. It was close.
It was literally razor thin.
Yeah. Because they didn't have to do a recount.
Oh. Okay.
Because it had to be it had to be the percentage. When I asked them when they did the count, it had to be the percentage to do a recount of the highest vote getter.
Yeah.
And so she literally made it through.
Yeah, I was running circles. It was amazing. It was even amazing that like she was basically she was David versus Goliath. Like she only spent a few, 10, 15 during the primary.
Yeah.
And she got in, and it's like one of those things is we have to ask ourselves. And I had friends who were friends with Tracy Hightower, and they're very bummed about it. And I always tell people, like, they're complaining about their candidate when they lose, and it's just like, you got to quit bitching and just win.
Right.
Shut up and win. But what I was trying to tell them is, like, she campaigned for like a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
She spent $100,000 and she still lost. Do you want to send that person into the general election?
Yeah. It's
like,
crazy.
no,
And then
you
when
don't.
she turned around and she endorsed Nick Batter, that was really a slap in the face because the same thing, like Nick Batter's campaign was literally, he hired someone who was like disparaging all of their names. Like, I mean, he was calling, the lady was knocking on doors, calling Tracy different names. I mean, they have actually tracing them. Like, I don't care. Like, now that the election's over, I'll keep it 100. There's videos and Ring cameras of Nick Batter's person really talking really about a bunch of crap about Tracy to voters. I mean, this woman was stealing signs out the yard, and then she turned around and she did the same thing. The same woman who did this had wanted to work for Tracy in the beginning, and Tracy was like, no. The same woman wanted to work for Ashley. Ashley said no. So then she ended up getting Nick Batter, and so then she's stealing their signs. During the election, she's stealing Nick signs. I mean, she's stealing Tracy signs and Ashley signs and replacing them with Nick Batter signs. I remember calling Nick Batter on the phone. Look, bruh, get it together. Because this right here, if one more of my candidates, like at this point, I'm battling for both of Tracy and Ashley at this point. Because I'm like, you're not going to keep doing this. Yeah. And so when she endorsed Nick, it was crazy. And then the fact that she went and she started to like say all these negative things about the party and about me and Jane. And it was like, really? Because up until the thing, like I would speak to Tracy and her husband all the time. We would be at different parades. I did not take a stance. I wouldn't even wear an Ashley shirt. Yeah. I would show up at the parades. I would go to both of them, talk to them. Like I was very neutral. Yeah. Very neutral. And so when her and her husband went on there, it was really disheartening, you know. Because it's like, man, take that L. That girl outworked you. Yeah. Your money cannot buy you an election.
If I was Tracy, I would have so much peace of mind knowing I did everything I could. Yeah. It'd be like, I did everything I could. There's no ands, if, or buts about it. I wouldn't have any questions.
And the thing is and let me just go and just say this, because even when the votes were done on the primary, and I don't care because she was on her way to Belize to go scuba diving.
Oh no, I remember that. Oh.
She left right after the election. Yeah. And so everybody gave her space. You know, no one called her and was like begging for her to endorse Ashley. We gave her space. Yeah. You know, and I told Ashley that, Ashley, you would be the one to call her, you know, to ask her for her endorsement. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I just feel like, you know what? I just feel like she couldn't. It just shows how poor sport she is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and you thought because you put all this money in there that you were going to do it. No, she outworked you and walked out 2 pairs of shoes. Yeah. And for me, you know, I'm not about like party loyalty, you know, far be it from me. But if you're going to go talk to Democratic voters and you say, I'm a Democrat, vote for me, you're a Democrat, I need your vote. And then you go and do that. It's just like, what do you I mean, it just comes, I don't know what goes on in her head, but it's incredibly petty. Yeah, and Nick Batter, he came off as, he kept leading with, I'm poor, I came from a poor. Sir, that does not connect with people. Yeah. Because you went to Harvard. Oh, he did? He went to Harvard, yes. Oh, okay. No, this is starting to make more sense. Oh, wow. So I'm like, sir, quit leading that you poor. Yeah. Yes, you went to Harvard. You went to, did he go to the military? Or he did he was in the military. Yeah, he was in the military. Yeah. Like, you know, that's cool, but don't lead off that you was poor because, sir, you're not poor now. I definitely didn't do a deep dive into him. I just went to his website once, right after Tracy endorsed, and I was just like, he seems pretty benign, I guess. I had never got the idea that he went to Harvard, so I mean, he probably tried covering that up a little bit. But he would send his wife to door knock into doors, and people would like, oh, well, can you bring back your husband? It's like his wife was his mouthpiece, like she would do all the time, and people would request to talk to him, and he wouldn't. You know,
why do you think that is? Just not like.
Because I think maybe because she was a woman and they felt like this was the year of the woman, especially with Kamala Harris running, and so women, you know, and if I'm not mistaken, I mean, well, she is considered a woman of color. She's Asian Pacific. I think she's of the AAPI community, and so sometimes you get a woman to come to your door. You're advocating for your husband. People are going to be like, "Hey, okay, she advocating for her husband. I'm riding with her."
Yeah. Or like it's much more like. I feel like people are much more willing to speak with women, you know, than like.
I mean, we all thought that a lot of women who typically voted Republican were going to come out and vote Democrat this time because of the Dobbs decision.
Well, I think what they did, we've talked about this. Me and Jane have talked about this. I think what's happened is that those women voted on the top of a ticket. They voted for Kamala Harris. They voted for the abortion.
Yeah.
They voted for some other ballot initiatives, and they said, "Okay, I've done my progressive Democratic duties. I'm gonna vote for Republicans on other stuff." I think that's what they did. Wow. Honestly, they backed us on a lot, but I think once it came to certain races, they was like,
Yeah, I mean, the analysis, like, you can't make any like big conclusions on what those voters did, but it's just like we saw, like in Missouri, we saw plenty of women vote for the pro-choice initiative, but also then vote for Trump.
Yeah,
and people are only speculating, and they think it's because they had those pro-choice initiatives that they could compartmentalize and say, okay, this is how I can vote for Trump, because I vote for the pro-choice thing, but then I can turn around and vote for Trump, and it's
so
just
it's like it's justifying that vote.
Yeah, something like it's taking the blow of Dobbs away in their mind.
Yeah.
is what people think, because when you have like something over 60% of people in Missouri vote for the pro-choice initiative, but then vote, about the same or a little bit more than Trump. It's just like, what is going on in the minds of these people?
Yeah, they think, okay, I can protect my body, but I can still vote for him.
Yeah. What do you think happened here with that? Just the misinformation?
It was definitely the misinformation.
I need to find that black physician that they ran on that commercial. Did you see her? She was talking about, vote no on, I forget.
434?
439.
Vote for 344? Or I don't know.
But she was pretty much saying that, like, the reproductive rights one was not. She was pretty much saying like, vote no on this because it actually gets the government involved. It actually puts people and women at risk and things like that. And stuff. It was like, I was watching that commercial and I'm like, this really sounds like it's the other way around.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it was intentional. They got student athletes to get on there and say, this will give men the right to an abortion, as in making women get an abortion.
Yeah.
And it was just 2 weeks of just
that. It was. I mean, I got so tired of seeing that. I mean, Ricketts really poured money into that.
It was, it was so confusing, and I have done surveys, and people were very confused about ballot initiatives.
Yeah,
a lot of people. That's the first time they're walking into that ballot. That's the first time they're reading the initiative.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's insane. I think what was really helpful for that too, where you had like a lot of senators or a lot of people with like bigger followings, like posting some kind of like cheat sheet thing on like their stories and things like that, so people were able to, I mean,
it was even on our voter guides. I mean, I started to think of different things we could have done. Like, I mean, we talk about the different stories we could have ran on it or different ads. Like, it's a lot. So yeah, it was a lot.
They at the end they had a really good plan. Hit people with misinformation nonstop for 2 weeks. Get some doctors and some student athletes. Some lady from volleyball. Like nowadays, when my wife and I were watching a volleyball match, every time it goes to a certain student athlete, I don't know her name, she's just like, I hate that person, or like, good job, but also I don't like you. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, they got them in the softball. They like got all the sports that we see, which is really sad.
It's crazy. Yeah. Name and likeness, like coming into politics. I thought it was,
Dude, when we were getting ready for the election night stream, I went to Walmart to get like these other tripods and stuff. And the guy who was checking like the asset protection guy, he was like, are you like a photographer or something? I was like, yeah, he's like, well, what do you need all this for? And I'm like, oh, we're doing the selection night stream and all this stuff. And he's like, well, I have a question then. So he started asking me like all these questions about all these initiatives. And he's like, I don't get it. I don't understand. This is so confusing. And he's like, he was like, I feel like, a woman should have the right to do whatever and this and that. And, your kid grows up and ends up stealing from you and you're stuck with this kid for 50 years. Right. Like, I mean, I think he was talking more of the elective side. Yeah. But there's also just like the medical parts of like abortion access and stuff. And, he was like talking all this stuff. And I'm like, this guy sounds like, like a liberal progressive, but I'm not sure. And he's like, but, I am. He's like, he was for Osborne. He was like, I like that Osborne guy. You know, Deb Fisher doesn't do anything. I heard she doesn't do shit. He's like, but I'm also going to vote for Trump because this and that. And like started going on that. And I'm like, it's such a mixed bag of voters that was so wild. Like people would vote for all of this progressive stuff and like, you know, independent people running for Senate and stuff like that.
Nebraska's weird.
Yeah,
we have some strange results here.
Even with Osborne, I mean,
we invited him on the show like 3 times.
yeah, I met him with him after the election. I had dinner with him and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a very honest person, and I wish I would have talked to him during the election instead of me being upset with him, knowing that the decisions that were made were not his decisions. I mean, because they have this whole model of independence and, you know, it was consultants and stuff, you know. And
I met them. I met them.
You did?
Finished.
Yeah, so I think people did not, number one, I mean, people got mad because we got upset what happened. And I'm like, we had a right to, because we thought we had this understanding that he was running as an independent and we were going to bring in a coalition to show that independents, Democrats, union people, middle class can all work together and elect somebody.
Yeah.
And so when he came and said he wanted to run, we were all for him running, you know, and then to come to come back and just basically crap on us and say, you know, like, nope, I don't want your endorsement. We're like, dude.
Yeah.
You know, but I did meet with him after the election with him and his wife, and I'm really I really look forward to seeing what he does, because he did change a lot. He gave Deb Fisher a run for her money.
Yeah.
Baby.
And I honestly think that if he was running against Ricketts, there are a lot of Republicans here who do not like
If
Ricketts.
he would have ran against Ricketts, do I think he would have beat Ricketts? I think so.
Well, Ricketts is up in 2 years.
Yeah.
He is, so we'll just have to see what happens in 26.
Well,
what do you
I just want to, so
go ahead.
I went to the Seward 4th of July parade thing with some friends. They
the
liked
4th of July city of the
yeah. They liked Osborne, and they wanted to be in the parade with his campaign. And so they did the parade and stuff like that. And then his consultants were clearly not from Nebraska, right? And they went around and like these people, they signed up to go to this parade, and then they turned around and tried to do this like mind trick on them, saying, okay, now you're going to go knock doors. Here's your clipboards. And they're like, we did not sign up for this. And luckily my friends have been in this game for a little bit. So they knew to be like, I'm not letting you do this to me. Because it works. It works to people when you do that sometimes. And then these people took a bunch of American flags and set them on the ground, like on the ground. And Dan Osborne, I noticed, I was like, who are these people? Are not Nebraskan. And then Dan Osborne noticed, ran over and picked all those flags up. And I was just like, I was like, those people are not from here. And then my friends told me later, yeah, those people are not from Nebraska. They're consultants from out of state. And I was just like, at this parade, you do that at this parade in front of these people.
Considering you're at the 4th of July. Seward has that
it's like
title.
the 4th of July capital.
Yeah, that's their big thing. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I can only imagine Dan's like,
no, he was
as a veteran, like
yeah,
but he was also like really flustered. He wasn't pissed at anybody. He was just worried that people were going to be mad at him. It's just like, you need to fire
and him and his
people.
wife are very kind people. You know, I got to know, like, say that night, I got to know his wife, and a lot of respect. You know, I kind of wish that I would have got to know them before.
Yeah.
You know, and like really, really, really want to see what he does. And
I hope he runs again.
Yeah, I do too. And I like I said, and people know I'm a very straightforward. If I had to say I was wrong, I will say it. And I was wrong in this point of judgment, but based off of after talking to him, like damn.
I think the last time I checked the FEC filings, he still had over $1 million left.
Yeah, he has a PAC also. It's a working class PAC, working families PAC, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That they'll be working with working class, you know, and helping candidates and stuff. But I hope he does not spend. If he does have that, I hope he keeps his money for his FEC and really looks at another office to run for.
Yeah.
Because 26, I honestly feel that Dan Osborne can be elected.
Yeah.
Do you think he could do governor?
I mean, we always have to run a Democrat for governor. There's no way we can get out of the way.
Yeah.
Senate, I can see. Senate, I could see it's like
Yeah.
making a path for. But
Or
if we don't
congressional
run,
district.
Yeah, or congressional district too.
if Democrats don't run somebody for governor, that's just
Yeah,
no.
we're already looking like it's like
What does the future look like? Because
Oh my
right
gosh.
now, like, I think after that, like Tommy was saying, like, we focus so much on the loss that people don't look at the wins that the Dems had. But moving on in the future, how does it must be hard to like try to like,
Yeah,
rile
but
people up again.
we gotta rile them up, but we also have to do something to focus on partisan voter registration,
Yeah.
and then talk about our wins. For so long, we don't talk about the good things that we're doing. We just kind of like, like really like put it out there.
Yeah.
And then continue the candidate recruitment. I'm really proud of the candidate recruitment that took place this past election cycle.
Yeah.
And continue doing that and really listen to the voices and hearing people. I think that's something we did really good this election. We can still continue to do more, like listening to people, listening to candidates, giving resources. This is the first year, honestly, this first election cycle that we were able to really put a lot of money into candidates, like individuals, like we were able to invest in those candidates. And I was very, very proud to be able to cut those checks to those candidates, say, hey, here's a contribution from the campaign. I mean, from the party.
Mm-hmm.
No just do what you do. And then in building our young Dems, I mean, Hannah and Henry, we started off with like, maybe 5 or 6, maybe chapters. We're not to 17. Like, we have to continue. I mean, the young people really, I heard their voices this year, this election. Like, they are so strong. And I think we got to continue. I mean, being a mom of a soon to be 21-year-old, that is something like, like she's always talking about this. Like, y'all got to do better. Like, y'all gotta get my attention. But not only that, my sister one time told me, she's like, if it's somebody not interesting, I'm not gonna vote. You gotta have interesting people. You gotta have people that people are excited for.
Yeah.
My greatest fear is that people are going to look at the loss and they're going to say we need a bland white guy.
I hope not.
It's a fear. I love it when I'm wrong.
I mean, because I think I don't want us to go like in 16. I hope this loss picks us up like we did in 16 when Hillary lost.
Yeah.
And then we got Biden. But then it goes back to, should it be a white guy? Who should it be?
What I am excited about, the first thing that we're going to see as far as the future goes, Ken Martin and the I think that, I mean, so I got some friends from Minnesota and I got some friends who were in the digital marketing space who've worked with Minnesota. It just looks like the guy's got it on lock.
I love Ken.
Like, I don't know how you come out the gate with 80 pledged delegates and now
that
he's
had to be a work in progress.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's my guess was this was something that was planned. Like, I mean, like beforehand. I mean, that's all.
Well, because we knew, because we knew Jamie wasn't going to. A lot of people knew that Jamie wasn't going to run
after
the election. We knew,
result?
he was done. He had already said. But it couldn't have been planned because this is the thing. Because normally, what happens if Kamala Harris would have ran, would have won, they would have picked who they wanted to run the DNC.
Yeah.
So you have to have a strategy for both. So so as soon as we knew, I think they knew, like, okay, it's time. Who's gonna step up? And so I had the honor of going last week to support him in DC, him and Jane, because Jane is running for his position as ASDC president.
Oh, that
yeah. So it was really cool. Ken's a really great person. I've been able to be able to be introduced to different people. Like I went up to Minnesota maybe earlier this year for their dinner, and he invited me to come early so I can go to the African American delegation. They had like this big thing for African American delegations, and he invited me to come. And I was like, Ken, I'm just getting on the plane, and he was like, nope. He's like, I'll see you there, And I was like, I don't have enough time to change. He's like, you'll be okay. And so I went, and it was really an honor, for him to take me to meet some of the African American leaders of Minnesota. And so I'm really excited for him. People keep asking, well, are you going to go to DC if Jane wins? I'm the ASDC. I'm not leaving my position as the executive director of the Nebraska Democratic Party.
She has to stay chair, though, right?
She has to stay chair.
To be a
ASD president. But there's still staff within the ASDC. And I'm not leaving my position to be an ASDC staff.
Ooh, that's a lot to overlook then. Like having to be chair, having the staff here, and then also there. But
yeah,
Tommy has said, like, because you talked about a lot of people like giving her heat for the things that, and a lot of tough decisions, but like the Democratic Party could end up with someone worse.
Yeah, and the thing is, for excuse me, with Ken, the DNC members vote for him.
Yeah.
For Jane, it's the chairs and the vice chairs. So hers is 114 people.
Oh.
So it's just the chairs and the vice chairs that vote for her.
I had just assumed it was like a package deal and that.
Yeah. No, it's the chairs and vice. And right now she has around, when I counted
I've
the
heard
other day,
she's the front runner.
she has like 40 yeses right now, like committed, 40 committed yeses, and then you have about total of 50 total, like the other 10.
Yeah.
You know, so she's gaining gaining it, and I think people don't understand, like Jane has been a part of the negotiations in the beginning, like in 16 and in 20 with negotiating with since she's been chair with Ken and the DNC, and so they were able to take us to $15,000. Well, 17. I should say 17.5 is what we get from the state. Well, or is it 15? Shoot, I look at it all the time.
It was 15. I remember you saying that when the Obama administration came in, they lowered it to like 5,000.
It was like 5,000. Yeah, it was really low.
And so
he was kind of an grassroots outsider. People kind of seem to forget that.
Yeah.
And he just didn't trust the DNC.
Yeah.
At the time, and so he tried to. He didn't try. He did. Like, he diverted a lot of funds to his own organization. I can't remember the name of it, but that's why we get to 2016 and there's what people believe to be like a controversial like funding agreement between Clinton and the DNC, but it wasn't controversial. The DNC was broke.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any other options. The other guy I noticed, Ben Wickler, he's waging a campaign via the media.
Yeah.
It looks like
But why? Why are you on the Daily Show?
Exactly. And I was just like, but we might like him through the Daily Show, but we're not the ones who are voting.
Yeah.
And so it's like last I heard Ken was over 100. Well,
he's well over 100. Yes, with it. But my thing is also like you have people who there's a few things in the DNC that people don't talk about. The voter file. Mm-hmm. The voter file is very, very one of the most prestigious, and that's owned by the state parties.
Yeah.
And so you have people who want to come in and want to override us and take our voter file and then let the DNC control it. And they can't. This is if we lose the voter file, we lose everything.
Yeah.
It just goes back to being all centered. So we really fight hard to make sure that the people that are elected in those seats as chair of the DNC is someone who believes in state party infrastructure.
Yeah.
And believes in because we are the first and foremost, like, I say this all the time. We're the ones on the front lines.
No, exactly. And
they come to us first.
That's what makes me excited about Jane's bid is she's talking about getting some of those chairs to get paid.
Yeah. It's definitely the chairs getting paid and then increasing the red state, increasing the funds.
Yeah.
So the red states will go to 30,000.
Yeah.
And then that will help with executive director training. Like, it's so much stuff. You say the turnover, having executive director training, having manuals for the chairs, like giving them actual things so that they can, you don't feel like you're just being thrown out to the sharks. You actually have this good job and you have the training, because there's a lot of times, we have an executive director signal chat and it's so funny because it will be like, who got this document? Oh, who got this? And so we swap so much stuff so that we can work together, and that's what a team's supposed to do. And so, I'm excited for Jane. But you got people on staff like running scared. I'm like, baby, you don't have to worry about me. I don't want your job.
No,
I'm good where I'm at.
I like that it seems like he's going to make everything. Ken wants to run on policies.
Yeah.
And he wants to work on infrastructure, states and stuff. That's
I did tell him this, like when we were talking on Thursday when I was there. I said, Ken, you win chair of the DNC. I said, I hope that the 75 at-large members or members that you're able to appoint, that you look and appoint some executive directors and some young people. Like that, you have to bring more voices to the table. It cannot be the elite.
That's another thing too, just about like youth, and like you said, your sister was saying, and Taylor was saying, like, you guys got to get people that are going to excite people. And I think Maxwell Frost from Florida is really interesting. The two Justins from Tennessee.
I love Justin Jones and Justin Pearson. You know who else is exciting?
Who?
Governor Westmore.
I saw him. He came and did a talk. I think he does the is this book The Other Wes Moore?
Uh-huh.
And he came to a talk at West, because he's a West Point grad. He came to a talk,
Yep.
and he talked about how there was another guy named Wes Moore. He went to West Point. The other Wes Moore went to prison. And that guy is just...
He is amazing. When I met him, I was in Baltimore, and I was so excited to meet him. And I run up, and I was like, I'm waiting. Like my former executive director from Maryland, Vince Harrington, he's now... he does all the scheduling for him, like, you know, travels with him, does everything for him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I really want to meet him. Like, I'm like so pumped. I'm like, last year I bought their Christmas ornament. You know, I just feel like it's on my tree. I just put it on my tree the other day. I'm like, he is like the best. And I go up to him and I go to introduce myself, and he goes, I know who you are. Like,
oh, he's one of those.
I'm like, what?
He knows everybody's names.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my gosh. He was like, you keep doing what you do. I saw you on CNN the other day. He said, you keep fighting. Da, 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 da. I'm like,
whoa.
Those politicians, like, they're amazing people. They also freak me out. Like, somebody, like, I hope it's okay to say, like, I met Danielle Conrad once at, like, a chili feed. And she just happened to sit next to me. I mean, I sit down, I'm talking to a guy from the county party, and then several other people start sitting down, like Benny Shobe, school board member, somebody else. Like, I did not intend to, like, and then Daniel Conrad sits down next to me, and they're talking about stuff way over my head, right? And I didn't really say anything to her. I asked, like, maybe one question in the group, and that's it. And then, like, a year or two later, she still knew my name. And I was just like, what? Like, how do you know this?
She has an insane memory.
Insane memory, but then I also thought, I mean, because he told me he saw me on CNN, but then I'm thinking, oh, your advanced people told you, like, because, I mean, we used to do this, like, okay, who's going to be, like, in the room? And so we would give, like, a breakdown of people that could possibly be in the room.
Yeah.
But it's like, sometimes they don't remember that because they see a picture, you know? But I really felt that he really knew, because he said, you're on the campaign also.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I am. You know, I mean, he was, like, really, like, like, so down to earth. And so I really want to see what he does, because I know are they only a 2-term? I think Maryland's only 2-term.
Probably.
You can only
I mean,
be
that's
mayor
probably
2
why Larry
terms.
Hogan left.
Yeah, you can only be there 2 terms, and so he'll run again in what, 28?
Oh, I can't remember.
No, 27.
I can't remember.
So he'll run. So I doubt he'll run for governor until 32.
Yeah, but he has such command.
I mean, president.
Like, this is not
president.
Oh, he asked me. He said, "When you gonna become a Marylander?" I said, "The day you announce you running for president." So I come back and work on your campaign.
Side note: if you ever in Baltimore, go to a Baltimore Ravens game, because they have, like, crab cakes. At the stadium.
I love crab cakes.
It's like
really
such a unique thing. Yeah. And it's such a unique thing. Like, when you see it, you're like, what?
Yeah,
like crab cakes.
I get a crab bomb every time I go. I go to this restaurant. It's like this huge crab bomb, and you can't eat it all. It's so delicious.
I'll take that challenge. But no, I remember it was an auditorium of maybe 1,200 people, and you could hear a pin drop. He just had such command of the room.
He is. Yeah. And he's just so,
and
like,
not in a scary way, like in a you want to know what this guy is saying.
There's very few people who do that. Yeah. Like, I hear politicians talk all the time, but very rarely are there those politicians where you feel what they're saying.
Yeah. It's like when he couldn't come we asked him to come to our dinner, and he couldn't make it because he was doing so much with the campaign. And from what I was told, he wants to be home at a certain time. He doesn't want to travel too much from his kids and his wife. And so he couldn't make it. Like, it just didn't, strategically, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And so I literally was like, oh, Precious, he'll do a direct to camera. And I was like, cool. Send me what he want to do. Cool. I sent it to his team, and about 24 hours later, I had a direct to camera video. And when I opened up that video and the things that he said about Nebraska, I'm like, I didn't write that. That's not all I told him. But it's just, I felt as if he understood, because even when he told me about protecting the blue dot, when I met him in Baltimore, he's like, you keep fighting for that blue dot. You don't let that blue dot go. And I just felt like, he really believes in democracy. And his leadership even showed when the Francis Scott Bridge got hit. And it went down. And that morning, he was already on scene. Put him on the boat. He wants to go, once that scene, and he was determined to make sure that those loved ones they found those individuals that passed during that.
Yeah.
And he's just a great. I mean, overall, I mean, he just warms you when he talks. Like it's like you just get so warm. You're like, oh my gosh, this man is. And then the other day, I mean, they just did this big drug bust, and he's not playing. He is not playing when it comes to Maryland. And so, yeah,
they're not rebooting The Wire here.
no, they gonna be rebooting The Wire here.
Speaking of democracy, like, what do you feel of the state of democracy?
Oh my gosh. Ooh.
Fingers crossed.
Huh.
Fingers crossed. Hope
I
the
mean,
institutions. We had a guy on election night, and we were like, telling him like, you know, you're okay with this guy going in, and this guy's pretty much
one of our usual guest co-hosts.
And I was like, this guy wants to be a dictator, and he's like, yeah, well, he wasn't last time, and I was like, yeah, because he's incompetent.
Very much.
No, I don't think that's what it is. I think people like lay low their first term, and then they like go all out their second.
Tried
term.
there at the end.
Yeah.
But anyways, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
He's gonna do some things. He's already saying it, but I literally was gonna throw away. I hate to say this, Lord, forgive me for saying this, but I was gonna throw away these. I had some masks that I bought in 2020. They were still in the package. You know, like some like some reusable ones you can buy at Target. And this morning I was again cleaning out my junk drawer. My junk drawer. And I went to almost throw them away, and I was like, nah, dude, he about to come back in office.
Yeah.
We might have another damn pandemic. But then I also feel in my head also that he's getting a great economy the same way he got a great economy with Obama.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's going to trash the economy.
Yeah.
And then he's going to turn around and he's going to give us all these stimulus checks. And what's going to happen? The people are going to be like, oh my God, Donald Trump signed me a check. And then he's going to turn around and they're going to basically put it back into the economy. He's going to try to say he boosted the economy.
There's a good amount of people that are thinking he's going to give us stimulus checks. And they're remembering we got stimulus checks with his name on it. But then we also got stimulus checks with Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Joe Biden went out of his way to put his name on it. I
think a lot of those were just like direct deposited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Many of those are direct deposit.
And I remember specifically talking to Tommy about this. I'm just like, when Trump came into office, he got a great economy. And you know Plies, the musician?
Yes.
I was watching a lot of his like videos on Instagram about this. But he was talking about how like, he's like, you know, Kamala needs to take the gloves off and stuff. And he played this clip of like Obama saying, you know, that was my economy that I inherited. It was like the messaging, you know?
Yes, it was.
And so Trump gets a great economy. Things are good. I remember looking for a home and, you know, things were like interest rates and everything were good. But then things started to get like worse, especially during the pandemic. And the fact that we recovered from a pandemic without like a recession like that is amazing, you know? And then now that the economy is good, the economy is actually great. But the problem is people don't feel it. You know what I'm saying? Like you still go to the grocery store, things are still high. And that's another thing that when people talk about, oh, like the stock market and things like that, I'm like, a lot of us don't like really even own stocks. So it's just like, why are you worried about that? But the thing is that I'm concerned that, you know, Trump will get this great economy. Things will start to kind of bounce back, you know, and then he's going to say it was all him. And just like, are the Democrats going to lose that messaging war again?
Well, it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot. The state of democracy. And I think about this and I'm like, I don't know who these people are. And my stepdad had just recently said that my stepdad had some stock from like the 80s that he forgot about. He'd forgotten about it. Literally forgot about it.
I wish I had stock I forget about.
Like, Dad.
Whoa.
He had invested, I guess it was in his job, you know, with the company. And the company basically cashed it out and sent him this like massive check. And I was like, well, damn, do they think something about to happen? And he didn't even know. He just got it and he was like, man.
Can they do that?
What's that?
Yeah, because I guess for whatever reason is, maybe they sent it. I think they may have sent him a letter and said, hey, you've had this stock. We want to cash it out, you know, and then we're going to, you know, do you want to cash it out since you're not paying into it? You haven't paid into it since the 80s. We want to cash it. But they didn't tell him how much. They didn't tell him how much it was.
So he had the option to cash out.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, hey, you want to cash out because you're not paying it, or you can transfer it on. My dad's like, my dad, he's retired now. He's like, I ain't working. You know, let me just cash it out, whatever. So he does it, not knowing how much it was, and they send it. Lord Jesus, the man was like,
was it life-changing money?
Yes. The man said God was on my side. I said, Dad,
That was when you say something like that. That means it was serious.
I said, Dad, I need about to pay off a little bit of debt, and I'll be happy. I literally sent him the payoff to my car.
Nice.
Seriously.
I was like, Dad, this if you love me, here you go. Hit them.
Yeah.
You ain't gotta pay it all. Hit them with half,
Yeah.
and I'll be happy. And so
wild.
so you know, like I look at it like now, like with him thinking of the economy and like, okay, what do you do? And he was like, well, I can cut some hours down in my part-time job, my job, kind of just, focus more on my house and stuff, like, well, that's what you should do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have anything else you'd like to? This was great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
thanks
And
for having me.
you need to come back. I mean, we could talk for hours.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot that I think sometimes people don't realize. Like I tell people, I'm really a normal person.
Yeah.
I have a tough job. I have a thankless job. I've learned to understand that I don't always have to be the person to be. I don't always have to be right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot in this world that people that are going through a lot of different things that we can work together. We're not always going to agree 100%, and so it's just, just keep fighting the fight.
Yeah, I remember we were talking about that, like people that we wanted to have come on and things like that, and like we know you, but we know you from like this authoritative like that's Precious McKesson. She's executive director. Like that's what we think of you as, But
I'm a goofy girl that loves Target and loves pajamas, fuzzy socks.
Yeah.
And I love to joke. I watch TikTok videos. I'm the one who's in the bed late at night watching a TikTok video or watching Instagram reels and almost broke a tooth because the phone done fell in my face.
Oh man.
Look, I love reality shows. Maybe when I'm done, I wanted to try for Amazing Race this year, me and my sister, but it was during the election. They were recording like the month of October.
Yeah.
So we couldn't do it, and I was so mad because me and my sister are so competitive. My sister plays semi-pro kickball, and so like we're very competitive. And I was like, I want to go to Amazing Race. I want to do this. I want to do that. I mean, I'm really. People would be surprised like how boring I am. Like literally boring.
I love reality TV. I remember
Me too.
the 2000 between 2006 and 2009. I'm talking like Flavor of Love, I Love Money,
Yep.
New York.
I remember that.
Megan Wants a Millionaire.
Bad Girls Club.
Yeah.
I remember
Tamisha bacon on the pot, waking everybody up.
Yo, so my sisters are like around like your age group. And so I would watch these shows with them. I had no business as like, this 9, 10, 11-year-old watching all this reality TV. But
I have been watching reality TV since The Real World New York with Heather B. and Kevin Pyle. That's in the 90s. That's how long.
It's like Road Rules.
Rules. Yes. Double Dare. Road Rules was one of my favorite shows. And I was so obsessed with Real World that that's the only reason I wanted to go to Seattle so I could see the pier where they lived at.
Okay.
Like I'm like, look, I have always been obsessed.
Making the Band, did you watch that?
Yes, when they had to walk and go get that
Across the bridge
cheesecake.
to get that
Was
cheesecake.
was that the one with Diddy?
Diddy, yeah, go get that Junior's cheesecake.
Yeah, I'm actually making like a deep dive video about it because all the Diddy stuff, it's going to be titled The Drama We Forgot.
Yeah, don't forget that Danny Kane, Making the
Danny
Band, all
Kane.
that stuff. Like
Oh my
Chopper,
gosh.
what was his name? Chopper?
Yeah.
I remember all them. Look here, that's to be
Dylon.
Dylon, all of them.
So
like
his name it's spelled Dylan.
Dylan.
But it's pronounced
Dylon.
Dylon.
He's like a Jamaican
Yeah,
thing.
no, I've seen that. Yeah.
I mean, that's just what I would do, like that. And Scandal was one of my biggest things. Like, I mean, every Thursday, my friends knew. Like, we had the wine
Scandal.
glasses, everything.
House of Cards. I was really into that too.
I didn't watch House of Cards.
House of Cards.
Don't start it.
Yeah,
It's not worth it.
and now I'm addicted to
You don't want to like Frank Underwood do after he turned out what
I can
Kevin
have
Spacey.
appreciation for the art and the people who produce
separate.
this show.
You're the one who
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go watch Veep because I never got to really get into it.
I haven't seen that.
I tried watching the first episode.
You did?
And it's very popular. I'm sure lots of people would like it. I just didn't get into it.
I'm almost done with Succession. Should have seen me on the plane yesterday.
Well, no, I watched the whole El Chapo series. Like, I was very intrigued by El Chapo. I was like, this dude is crazy.
Dude,
he was escaping.
Who's Sofia Vergara was just on this show.
Oh, the Mafia show. I don't know what the name is, but she was a big drug lord.
Yeah, and then there's also the other one, Queen of the South.
That's my show. Now I finished that one. Oh, Queen of the South was my show.
Top three of my favorite
that
shows.
That is 7 Seconds with Regina Hall.
I haven't seen that one.
Gotta watch that.
Okay, I will.
Gotta watch that. It's really sad, but it talks about the corruption of the New York Police Department.
Oh,
that's what it forms. It was these police officers, and wow. It's really deep, very deep. But it was a really good show with Regina King.
I have to watch that. I need to finish How to Get Away with Murder. I stopped the second after they.
I've never gotten into that.
Is Viola Davis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy used to be my thing. My daughter.
Really, I never really got into Grey's
Anatomy. Oh, I loved it in the beginning.
My mom watched that for a little bit, and she's a nurse, so she was just like, these people don't even do their rounds. Like, what are they doing their rounds?
All they do is sleep.
What are they doing their rounds? Yeah. It's like Grey falls into a harbor or something like that. Everybody's standing outside her door. It's like, don't you people have a job?
Yeah. The stories they would do, I'm like, ugh.
She gave up on it, so she can't do. My wife, also a nurse. You cannot watch a medical show with these people.
Oh yeah, because they're going to
criticize.
They're like, that's not. It's just like it's television. Jeez.
Yeah. They didn't. The phlebotomist didn't disinfect the area correctly. Yeah, like that kind of stuff.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Precious, this was awesome. Yeah, we're trying to get to know, I don't know, the people who run the state better, or public figures, and it's so wild too. Like, I think like a lot of people don't think. When you're in the public eye in any like capacity, even me, like I feel like people forget that I'm a real person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like they feel like you don't have feelings or things like that. Mm-hmm. Or like, I share a lot of my life online, by choice. And so like there's a lot of people who have like parasocial relationships with me, which is like the most interesting thing. I went to a cookie shop with my nephew one day. And we came out, and this lady, I've seen her online, but I've never seen her in person, like, just was like, oh my gosh, you're Jazar, and ran up and gave me a hug. And my nephew was sitting there eating the cookie looking like.
Yeah. I am like one of those people, and I realize this, that number one, people don't realize that you're human and you have a human side to you. People also don't realize, like, I am so cool until you, like, I'll be cool. I can handle whatever. But if you ever bring my kid into it, gloves are off. Like, you'll see a whole other side of me. My family's off limits because they didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
Also, I'm like, my private life is my private life. That's something I get excited. I get to keep that to myself. Mm-hmm. So no one will ever know in this world who I'm dating. Like, I'll never tell, because I just don't want people. I just keep it private. Same. And then when I travel, I am not a social person. I hate talking to people. I hate that people will, like, like, I wear sunglasses in the airport for a reason, because I don't want to make eye contact with people. Because I think people are like, oh, where are you traveling to? None of your business.
That was one of the best things about the pandemic, was putting
that mask on, no one can
sunglasses,
see you,
beanie. Nobody knows who I am.
And I traveled to Florida, and my friend, he's a friendly Freddy. I call him that because he talks to everybody. I hate it.
Friendly
Freddy. And I am like livid. And the people could tell, because I just want to go lay on the beach. He's making relationships with everybody. The beach, the towel boy, the guy who's going to set up our thing. Everybody's like talking. Hey, how y'all doing? Like, know us by name. Then we go out and we're in the ocean, chilling. Now, mind you, I'm very scared of water. But this time I got in. I said, I'm going to live a little. Get in this water. Go out as far as you can. Just let it bring you back. Because the wave's going to bring you back, unless it's a riptide. But it's going to bring you back. Just enjoy it, Precious. All of a sudden, we meet this guy in the middle of the ocean. We're sitting out there in the ocean. He owns a tow company in Miami. So he's talking to him. But at this point, who the hell am I going to talk to? So now I got to talk, because we're just sitting here and the waves are hitting us, because he's not talking to me. And so I go, oh, yeah, so I bring up this tow show that I watch. I said, so how do you know Bernice?
Oh, I know that show.
And he freaking cracks up. He goes, yeah, I know Bernice. He said she works for me. Bernice used to be a principal. She da-da-da. I'm like,
Bernice used to be a principal?
Yeah, she used to be like in education. And he's like, and she really don't know how to use a tow truck. he tells me this. So he's like the biggest tow truck company recovery in Miami. Yeah.
I love that show.
Matter of fact, his card is right in my bag right here.
Oh my
This
gosh.
dude, and I'm like literally, and I'm cracking up, and my friend looks over, he's like, what the freak? How would you know? Why would you ask him? And he know. He's like, yeah, y'all gotta come down to Miami, da 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 da. So then we go back to our
What is it,
cabanas.
Miami Beach Tow.
Yeah. So we go back
Such
to
a
our
good show.
cabanas, and he's sitting on his and his family. And he's like, oh, I had to come up here, I gotta go back for the weekend. I have the biggest, he owns all these tow trucks. And he's like, yeah, I have these Argentina cigars. So he's getting like all these expensive cigars, and he's bringing like all these drinks. And I'm like, I really don't like people. This is what I'm telling myself.
Yep.
That's what I'm telling myself.
Yeah. Sounds like me and my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there talking, and I'm like, I just want to go to sleep in this cabana. I don't care who's watching me. I just want to sleep.
Sleep on the beach.
Yeah. And he's just talking to everybody. And so, yeah. So I feel like I just say that, like, I'm really, like, not that friendly person. Like, she's like, I'm friendly. I just don't like to.
Too many people.
Yeah. When I get from politics, I like to just be
when you're
like.
on vacation, you're on vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I hope a show like this, we can actually humanize people that we're only used to ever seeing a few minutes in the news,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We see you online. Obviously, follow everything you do and the tweets and stuff. And
Yeah, I mean, I like making TikTok videos, laughing. Like me and Ashley, like I got to talk to her because we used to we did one TikTok video together, and then we've done some like little karaoke stuff. And I was like, Ashley, we should really do a TikTok series on Black girls and Black girls in politics on TikTok.
Yeah.
And we should do just do funny TikToks together. And we should do that. And so I'm waiting for her to see if she wants to do this next TikTok with me.
Yeah.
And so I think we'll start doing like a series of TikToks and stuff,
We'll watch it.
doing. Yeah.
I'm really excited for her, too.
I'm very excited for her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what her priority bills are going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna reach out to her because I talked to her about having her on.
Yes,
and she
definitely.
agreed. Yeah, so we're trying to get people as they come because I'm just like I feel like we're out of the way.
Yeah. No, get them. Like, I mean, if you need any context, like she's so dope. Her, Terrell, Senator Wayne.
That's why I was like, tell me the next time you're in Lincoln,
Yes.
so that you can swing on by and we could like throw something together around your schedule. But yeah, so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank y'all. I mean, I hope people get to see like I'm a human being. I'm very human. This is a job that pays me, and I always make that comment like, mind the business pays. Mind my business that pays me. But I mean, I'm very, I'm the same. I grew up in North Omaha. I didn't come from a family of politicians. I'm just a black girl. I'm just a black girl from North Omaha that found her lane in politics, and I'm not leaving it.
Yeah.
Oh, one last thing I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Like, how is going into the White House?
Oh my gosh. So I'm gonna tell this story because I think it's funny because my sister are night and day. My sister's tattooed up. My sister's like ready, like she's that girl. She's in social work. She's a social worker. So she works with very like one of the high extreme mental health patients, like, who are maybe most like sometimes they're homeless. They're literally like a point of going to St. Elizabeth, which is the highest hospital you can go to and be committed in DC. Yeah. So my sister is like rough, like that's my girl. And so the first time I went to the White House, I was so nervous. Now I tell you, it was hot as
It's like an abnormally bright white color.
Oh my gosh, and it was so hot. We were on the South Lawn, and boy, people was sweating out their clothes. I was like, oh my God, I hope I don't get up and I have a ring on this. Oh my gosh. I mean, everybody's like, this guy had this white dress shirt, it was all sweaty, but it's like there because you're just so excited to be there. But it's just an exciting feeling because you go in and, they're checking your ID, you go through Secret Service, you go to the different things. And so when you walk in, it's like, number one, just like, oh my gosh, first thing I'm thinking, like, what can I get out of here? Like, is there some napkins? Like, something I can
Can I take a lamp? Like,
I'm the swag queen.
Wow.
And so you walk past, you're on the East Wing at this point. And so you're walking past, you see the movie theater, then you're walking through. But I think the one part is like you go in the room that you always see him like see them doing like the signage in or the press conference. Well, not the press room, but the one they do the signage in when they have dignitaries come. That room is small as shit. It's
the yellow oval?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Like when they do like the Medal of Honor, when they do the medals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Small as shit, y'all.
Is it like
really?
This size of this room or a little bigger probably?
A little bigger, but it's small.
Wow.
You packed in there. It's small. And so you're like, oh my gosh, like, and then, when you get in the photo line and you get to go take the picture with him, with the president, and the president's like, oh my gosh, how are you doing, Precious? You're like, what? But I tell this story because the first time I took my sister with me, it was funny as hell because, like I said, we're night and day, and we go to the vice president's house for a Christmas party, and I had never experienced this part, and so we're in this line. They give you these cards. Say, okay, this is the time you're gonna go. First thing we see when we're going, we see Nene Leaks. So my sister's like, hey, Nene. My sister's
Leaks.
like, yeah. My sister's
Wow.
like, I'm like, girl, we are at the vice president's house. You're not the club. But my sister didn't care. So she go, Nene, can we get a picture with you? So Nene gives a picture. So they say, okay, now it's your turn to go in to take the picture, to go meet the vice president. So we're walking in, and you give them your card. And so all of a sudden, this Marine yells in his voice, Miss Precious McKesson, Nebraska Democratic Party Executive Director, and her guest, Nicole McKesson. And he says it's like really loud. And my sister turns, she goes, well, damn, I didn't know you was going to be that loud. And right in front of you is, me is the vice president and the second gentleman. And I'm like,
we from Nebraska.
Yeah, I said, that's my sister. And so they just bust out laughing. And so I get to take the picture. And then as I'm walking away, the second gentleman asks me, he goes, Precious, how's your mom doing?
Wow.
And I literally almost broke because my mom had just had a heart attack that Saturday before I came to DC. And she made me come because she told me she wanted my sister to be able to experience that with me.
Vice president.
And to be the vice president.
Wow.
And I said, she's doing good. She's recovering. She's on her way. And he didn't even know that she was in the hospital. So it's just a feeling, like you go and you meet all these different people and you get to talk. But it's like normally just the same. It's just normal to me. Yeah. You just be like, hey, y'all.
I remember seeing the White House. I had to record. That's the thing about me. Like, I record all my experiences that I'm experiencing for the first time. So I literally vlogged myself see the White House for the first time.
I remember taking the girls there to see the White House this was when Trump was in the office. And I remember taking Taylor, me, my sister, and my daughter and my niece were in DC because my sister lives in DC. And so we was like, oh, we're going to go to, take y'all to the White House to see the White House. And then it's like all this, like, because it's not like it is now. It's like a fortress. It was at that time. It was like a fortress, like all the stuff around it. Now it's not even like that.
Yeah.
And so I remember the girls flicking off the White House.
Yeah.
At this point, they're like in high school. I'm like, why would y'all do that? They're like, we don't care. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so these girls now, it's like when they see it, there's like a different respect for them. My niece, her first time voting was this year. And she was so excited to go see Kamala Harris. She was like pumped. She's like, oh, I'm going to do this today,
She lives in D.C. That's your sister's kid, right?
She lives in North Carolina now. So she voted in North Carolina. So she was super pumped to be able to vote. And then Taylor got to meet the second gentleman twice. And the first time she sat next to him and wrote postcards with him. And then she had a one-on-one time with him in the back and talked about, her going to school and talked about the stuff that she does with Power to Decide and protecting women's rights and stuff. So, yeah, my family is very, they're really, excited. They get to meet different people. Taylor met Nancy Pelosi, and Nancy literally said to Taylor, because Taylor, me and Nancy did a selfie behind stage. And so the next morning, Nancy Pelosi was in Omaha and she was leaving. She had just got done meeting with Warren Buffett and she was on her way out to church. And she literally was walking in the lobby, waiting for her husband to come down because they're about to go to mass. And so Christine's like, oh, Taylor's like, I'm going to take a picture because Taylor didn't get a picture the night before. So her and Speaker Pelosi's about to take the picture. And so then Speaker Pelosi Christine goes, oh, Precious getting the picture. And Speaker Pelosi was like, no, she got hers last night. And so Taylor got her picture early in the morning, as we're, downstairs waiting to get coffee with Speaker Pelosi. And so that was real funny. Taylor laughs about that because she's like, yeah, she told you. And I was like, yeah, I didn't get to get in the picture with y'all. She's like, yeah, Precious got her picture last night. I'm like, oh, okay.
It's so wild to see these people. I've never seen, Kamala Harris or all these people in real life. I think the most the highest profile national Democrat that I know that I've met was Gretchen Whitmer.
Yeah. Oh, she's Big Gretch.
Yeah, Big Rich saw her at the Webby Awards, and I'm just like, how do I like approach this?
Yeah.
I was like, excuse me, Governor, and she turned around. She was like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I was like,
I
why
didn't
did they
speak.
just have her out like this? Like,
Yeah.
did she have security?
She walks around with a book bag and everything. Like, I mean, Congresswoman Nikema Williams, I speak to. I see all the time when I'm in DC. I just saw the other day in the airport when I was arriving in DC. Congressman Adrian Smith from the
really?
Yeah, he was on his way to Nebraska, and I just walked up to him. I was like, "Hey, Congressman, just want to introduce myself, Precious McKesson, Nebraska Democratic Party. How are you doing, sir?" He's like, "I'm doing good." And I said, "Oh, you're home on the way home for the holidays?" He's like, "No, actually, not yet." He said, "I'm going to one of my school teachers passed away, so I'm going to the funeral." I was like, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, we always got to support our public education, support our teachers and stuff." And then he goes, I said, "Well, sir, I said, I'm wishing you and your family a happy holidays." And I walked off. That man shocked him. But we're human. Just because we're not the same political party, we can still be respectful to each other, So, I mean, yeah, I just walked up to him, we're literally passing each other at the airport. I mean, I tell people, shoot, they the same way as us, shoot.
DC airport, you probably see a lot of...
Oh, baby. Yeah, let me tell you, there's a few people I want to meet. Like, I'm going to end this with this one. There's a few people that I want to meet, either in the airport or Whole Foods in D.C. There's 3.
Who are those 3?
Can't, probably.
I got some words for them. Number 1, Meghan McCain.
Oh.
She blocked me on Twitter.
Did she really?
Yeah. After she put me in her op-ed. When I went to D.C., she said I was a CRT activist and I had this prestigious job.
Jesus.
So
after you got...
after I got appointed.
Yeah.
So I added her. Girl, don't be putting me in your op-ed. You don't know me like that. Like, I don't got no prestigious job. I'm just sitting here with a mask on trying to find an office that I can, instead of being this cubicle, because if I find an office of somebody who's working from home, I don't have to wear this mask all the time.
Mm.
And I did find me an office there. So I didn't have to wear that mask all the time. And staff was like, how did Precious find this office? Bruh, I'm on this floor by myself. Leave me alone. So Meghan McCain, Candace Owens.
Yeah.
I want to meet Candace Owens. I got some words for that sis.
I really want to meet her.
I want to meet her too in Whole Foods.
She's just in it for money.
So I can tell her get some get them edges together. Edges and drink your water because your hair dry. I don't like that girl. And the last one is Margie Taylor Greene.
Oh, man.
I want to meet that one.
Bad built butch body.
Yeah, I got something for her. FAFO.
Bleach blonde, bad built.
Bleach blonde, bad built butch body.
The chair of that committee was like, what?
Yeah. That was
a what now?
He said what?
I just can't believe it.
But Rasmussen, he didn't know what to do. He didn't know whether to laugh. he was like, what?
No, I've always wanted to. I've wanted to get Jasmine on or Congresswoman Crockett on the show. She's
so dope.
But she's like, so I think some of these people are also hard to reach.
Email her people.
They're not gonna answer. They're gonna be like, "What's this little show out of Lincoln, Nebraska?" Like,
no, I mean, I'll have her person's number. I'll reach out to him like, "Hey, they want to get you on the show." She's real cool. She's real dope.
Thank you.
She's real dope. Like when she came to Omaha, she's real dope. I like her.
Yeah, she
keeps it. She keeps it 100.
No, that's the thing. You could she's like real. Like you could tell. Like you could see through some people, but like she genuinely is in it. And when she was talking about like all the stuff that she did, like like donating, like I think she was talking on Roland Martin's show about how she put up like $200,000 of her own money to the Harris campaign, like.
Yeah, she was a co-chair on the national co-chair.
Yeah.
So there's some dope people but them 3 people, I want to either meet them in Whole Foods because that's where they always they say they always go to Whole Foods in DC. I guess I might be at the wrong Whole Foods. I don't know, but or the airport because let me tell you that day, oh baby, I'm letting loose. I'm letting loose on them. I got some words for them, and they might just go and just say either.
And they'll go to a blog post. I was attacked.
Yeah, I was attacked by this girl. And I always wear, so yeah. But them 3 people right there.
We're going to see the videos going viral.
like who is this girl? Like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so yeah.
Any last words?
No, I just want you to come back.
Definitely will. Fun, We'll have to get Jane in here. Jane would really.
She was here tonight.
Yeah, she's at the thing. Yeah,
and you guys were
together. Jane is dope. Jane is pretty dope. She has a pretty dope story. Yeah, she's a cool ass individual. Like I tell all the time. I tell Scott all the time. I tell people also when Jane is around. I love when Scott's around because when Scott's around, I get a different Jane.
Oh, I see.
I'm like, oh, Scott, where you at? Because she gonna stop bothering us. Come on. Today we called me and Ron text her daughter Maya in a group. We was like, hey, add us to your family's TikTok because they're going on vacation. So we said, add us to the TikTok so we can know when she's not gonna call us.
Yeah.
You stay booked and busy. They got you flying here, there, and everywhere.
I'm home for the next month though.
That's good.
That's nice.
Yep. So I have some projects to do.
Get that drawer.
Get that junk drawer's clean. So tonight, now I can change the outlets, the fixtures on the outlets, change all those out to put new ones up, and I have some projects. I have some cool projects. So I'll be chilling once we are done this week. I'll be chilling with that in my pajamas and some good tea, and I'll be sitting at home binge watching
under that heated blanket.
Baby. Look, I don't go nowhere without that sucker.
Yeah. I need to get caught up on my TV for sure.
Yes.
So. All right. Thank you so much again, Precious,
guys.
everybody. Yeah. Precious McKesson. First guest in studio like this, I guess. Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That was cool, y'all.
That was cool. Next week on the Jazari Qual Show, we sat down with Jesse McGrath for a powerful conversation about the fight for trans healthcare and the challenges faced by the community.
The fact that I've been able to do what I've been able to do and keep in working and get out and fight, it's something that I feel that I owe to all of the trans folks who came before me.
You won't want to miss this insightful and deeply important discussion.